7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
You'll never have the sacred stone.
Oh, this you crazy mother.
He has a lot of problems.
Struggle to be top 5 in points at the end of the season.
Wow.
You bleach your hair, you're a sellout.
Yo, what is up, everyone? Welcome back to the Moto Aftermath Show. This is episode number 273?
274.
274? Is that what we're on? Yep, we probably are. You're probably right. Shit.
I was on 272, so...
We are on 274. I'll catch up one of these days. I'm your host, Travis. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in here. We are rocking and rolling. I'm still in the middle of a move. I know I've been saying this for weeks. We're on the home stretch here. I have basically one project to finish, few big things to move. We're hoping to sleep at the new house tonight. We'll see how ambitious we are after we record this, but we're getting close. I really appreciate all the comments of you guys' support. Hey, great that you got a house. We'll be here when you're done. I'm still pushing out these shows as best I can. I do promise, probably after the break here, we're going to probably get back to having a race reaction show as well as the main show. There's just not enough time in the day right now. We've got a lot going on. So
Travis, I'm here to help you. Let's go.
Yeah. So anyway, so thanks everybody for tuning in. We got an action-packed show today here. We are going to break down Thunder Valley. We are going to touch on maybe some MXGP, some silly season stuff. We've got Tom Cooper in studio with us here. We've got Coach Robb on the phone with us here. And then, so we're going to talk to him about some things. But before we get started, we just want to thank all of our sponsors here. So first off, show presented by Complete Racing Solutions, which is Coach Robb. And this month we're highlighting their new sweat analysis patch thingy. That's the technical term, right, Coach?
Yeah, that's exactly it. Yep, we call it the thingy online.
Okay, cool. Sweat analysis patch thingy. I'm doing this off no notes here, okay? Look, I had notes last week. I read the notes last week. This week, I'm running around like a chicken with the damn head cut off. But anyway, it's basically a patch that goes on your arm, and then as long as you share the data with Coach Robb and his team, they can determine what sort of hydration you'll actually need, how much hydration you'll actually need, which is very helpful going through a race season, especially when it's hot and humid outside. I just got my new bag of energy fuel yesterday, so thanks, Coach. Really appreciate that, which is awesome because it gives you a flavorful drink that actually hydrates you in a proper way and doesn't have any of the bullshit in it. So you can pick all of this stuff up at CompleteRacingSolutions.com. There are links in the description down below. There are contact forms, so if you want to know about the sweat patch thingy, which is the technical name, don't forget that. All that info is on there. They can tell you about it. They can help you with it. And if you have any questions, Coach Robb, always more than happy to answer any questions for you guys, or you can check out his YouTube channel. There's all sorts of ways to get in contact with him and find out about the new sweat patch thingy. Also on board with us here, we're in the TLR Coatings studios, which is, of course, my company. All your powder coating and Cerakoting needs, so make sure to check them out, TLRcoatings.com, and on all the major social media networks at TLR Coatings. I got a Holster Co. Reload rant. We've got Isaac Nelson Designs on board with us to do the Deegan Danger Zone. We have Gutterworks going to bring you our 450 race recap. And we've got our Pro Flow. I don't know if I have a mini moment of the race. I didn't write one of those down yesterday. But Pro Flow will bring you our 250 race recap when we get to that point also. And I think that's everybody. Also, just want to have you guys go, if you're on Facebook, which I know Facebook's kind of for us older people, but we do have the new Moto Aftermath Racing page on there, which is nothing but riding videos all the time. Most of it just short stuff, quick clips, reels, that kind of stuff. And I'll be completely 100% transparent that Facebook dicked us on the main page with monetization. So I had to create the racing page, which was coming anyway. For those of you who don't know, we also have a Moto Aftermath Racing YouTube channel you can go subscribe to, which again is going to be the same thing. It's going to be all sorts of riding videos. So once I do get moved in and I get to go back to the track more, we're going to have not only pros, but we're going to also have amateur and local stuff that we get. And if you guys go to any races and you want to be featured on any of these, feel free to DM me basically anywhere, and we can hook up, and if you have some vertical videos you want to share or whatever, we give you guys credit for them, but we can always use that. We don't shy away from quite literally any of them. If they're halfway decent, we'll use them. So yeah, I just want to promote those things because like I said, we're, as you guys always know, and this is a way for you guys to support us without even paying for anything, is just to follow that page, watch the 5-second clip I post every day, and that'll help us get the ball rolling, which will hopefully help us produce more content, be more relevant, go to more races, bring you guys more stuff. That's what we're going for. And that
Hey,
is...
Trav, can I throw some
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
real quick?
Yeah.
I had actually reached out with Issac Designs, and I couldn't. Quick, he got back to me. I'm working on a project. He gave me a timeline. He gave me a price quote, and just want to give him props. He doesn't, know me from Adam. Never had a chance to work with him. I reached out to you to get his number, and just this week he put a project together. So
Hell yeah.
Completely not part of the introduction to the show, but I do want to say, man, to find somebody, you'll hear me say publicly quite often, I value time way more than, and for him to be able to be so on the spot. So I just want to publicly say, for anything that's graphics related, Issac's where it's at. I was completely blown away. So appreciate you connecting those dots for me. Much appreciated.
He's great, and he just he likes the show. He likes us, so he kind of hooks us up with everything, which is why I promote him here. Whenever I reach out to him with a project, usually within like a week, I'll have something, which is fine with me because I'm on the program there basically. So, if you can get me something within a week, and he'll usually send me not only one but multiple references of what I'm looking for to say, hey, which one do you like best? And I'm just like, oh, this is awesome. Yeah, that's why we promote him. That's why he's our guy for stuff. So yeah,
pro's pro.
A pro's pro. Yep. So
That's right.
So yeah, okay, as I said, on the phone with us here, Coach Robb, and we've got him for just a little bit here. So I had a few things to kind of bring up to Coach here as far as the racing goes. Obviously, we had Thunder Valley yesterday. Okay, so first off, Jet's wounded, and everybody talked all week. All the pundits, we all talked amongst ourselves that this was everyone else's opportunity to jump on him here. If you're gonna try to win this title and grab it away from him, you got to jump on him.
Let me do the record scratch a little, back it up a little bit. There was a bet on show 272.
Oh, yes.
There was a very, very nice bet that me and Proper 12 made with Travis here. Proper 12 whiskey that night. It was about 4 in the morning. That was a dog. that Jet would not go 22-0.
Yep.
And magically.
Yep. I meant to actually have the money to hand to you on the show here. Mm-hmm. I'll get it to you after the show because it's in the other room. But yes, no, I do owe you because, yes, we did have an issue last week. Now, as I was getting to here, though, this was everybody's chance to jump all over him. And he goes 2-1 and wins the overall. Mm-hmm. Is this a panic button moment? And, Coach, we'll start with you, and then, Tom, I want to get your thing. Is this a panic button moment for the rest of the 450 field here as far as the title goes?
100%.
Okay. Great. I'm glad. Simple answer. Tom, go.
Well, you said wounded. What do you mean by that?
So he has and Coach, you may know a little bit more here. He has a huge gash in his leg from the foot peg from last week, and his shoulder was fucked up too. Mm. So, yes. So
riding at that pace is difficult enough as it is, let alone when you're a little bit beat up.
Well, in the leg thing, the problem is he's a big leg rider. Mm-hmm. So he even brought this up last week of like he couldn't grip the bike the second moto, so he was riding just with upper body, which was wearing him out. And then he said yesterday in that first moto, once him and Hunter got into first and second, the leg kind of flared up there in the last 5 minutes or whatever, and he basically said, screw it, I'm just going to start recovering for the next moto, which is why Hunter pulled such a gap on him there. But my thing is like I said, I'm just... Okay, so then I'll go back to the question. Is this panic button moment for everyone else as far as the title goes for this? Barring him doing something dumb or a bunch of mechanicals?
We're 3 rounds in, right?
We are,
We're like,
yes.
like the 30%, or 1/3
Yes.
through the season. Maybe quarter. Maybe about a quarter.
25%, yeah, because
Okay.
it's 12 or 11.
So I'm not going to be panic buttoning anything this early because, well, he's already lost some races, right? But even
Yes.
more so, if he's kind of beat up right now, he's more susceptible to get more to happen, right? Now, hopefully it doesn't happen, and he's very good. He's the guy to beat for sure, but I wouldn't be panic buttoning anything, especially if you chase Sexton. You're pretty full of confidence. I say pour the coals to it.
Okay. I mean, my only rebuttal to that is we came in 24 points down, and we made up 14 points in one race. I mean...
On a track that was like riding on ice with marbles.
Yeah, and everybody said that the way they groomed it was basically you just went wide open and followed the person in front of you. So it wasn't a lot of moving. It wasn't rut cross like we've seen at Thunder Valley before, but it also wasn't the way it was last year where it was very raceable per se.
It's been a few years since I raced that track. I only raced it once, but I've been there a bunch of times.
Mm-hmm.
The track's kind of narrow for a national.
Okay.
And the way that they prep it really affects how the racing goes in. So like we were talking about how previously it had more ruts. Well, when there's not as many ruts, it doesn't create that same terrain of separation.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So
Yep.
Interesting how that all shakes down.
Yeah. All right, so next thing up then, Coach, staying on the Lawrence train here, they made it very, very public yesterday that they had gone back to the 2023 settings, which, from what I'd heard, they wanted to do before, and Honda told them, no, we can't do that because we have these different parts, so, like, we can't do this. Obviously, there were some issues, and I think James is the one who's been talking about the bike riding Hunter and Hunter not necessarily riding the bike. And then obviously with Jet, he was very public the first round about not being comfortable.
Yeah.
And then yesterday we go back to these 23 settings, and all of a sudden both of them are very, very good. So thoughts on that situation, or any info you got on that situation?
I would have to agree with you 100%. The way that Hunter kind of dropped that bomb when he said, yeah, we've made some adjustments that obviously paid off. He was very subtle, but I think he was pretty much, and I don't think there's any tumultuous relationship between Honda and the Lawrence brothers at all.
No.
But I do find it very interesting in the last 24 months, literally 24 months. Think about it. You've got Cooper Webb that wanted a different size front fork. They said, nope, you're going to deal with it. He leaves. Chase comes over, says, nope, this doesn't work. They make some adjustments, which from what I'm hearing is pretty much what Webb wanted originally. They give Sexton what he wants. Last week he rides really, really well. This week Honda gives the Lawrence brothers what they want, and we saw them go 1-2. 100%, I think you're right on the money, Trav. It's one of those situations where, and I've talked about this, Trav, you and I have talked about this off the record. I've got a couple investors that want me to start a race team. And what I don't understand about developing a race team is go back to Jeremy McGrath, absolutely dominating. And then they come out with that, I call it the tuning fork, right?
Yep.
And Jeremy's like, this thing's a piece of garbage. It throws me to the ground. I don't want to ride it. They're like, no, you're riding it. And he's like, oh, no, I'm not. Later. It's just amazing because, it was one thing back in the day to blame Honda. Then you have Webb leaving KTM. And then we're back to Honda again. It's my point for bringing all this up in one big soup bowl is why wouldn't a team want to go out of its way to give the rider whatever he wants? Now I understand they got to say, hey, win on Sunday, sell on Monday. That old mantra. I think those days are long gone. I think the public's well aware of the fact that we're not buying anything off the showroom floor. Yeah, we're certainly closer than we were. We couldn't buy O'Mara or Bailey or Johnson's bike back in '86 and '87, but we're certainly not going to make a big beef if he's running 46s or he's running 48s and we can only buy 46s. Nobody's complaining about that.
That's a good point.
So, yeah, Go ahead.
That argument to me is so fucking ridiculous anyway, okay? I can't go buy a MotoGP bike, okay? But if Marc Marquez wins 14 titles in a row on a fucking Honda, I'm going to go buy a Honda I'm also not going to buy a Honda CBR 1000. I'm only going to buy a 600. But because he's on a Honda, or like right now, because Ducati is the brand in MotoGP,
Yep.
I'm not really in the market for a street bike, but I've looked at more Ducatis than I ever have before to be like, I could probably ride one of these things. They're pretty sweet. So,
Sure.
like, that whole argument to me is just the most ridiculous thing that it's second only to, and here comes my Holster Co. Reload rant, hiding fucking injuries. Same thing. Hiding setup, hiding injuries. None of it fucking matters. Number one, no one out here in the real world is going to be able to fucking produce the parts that you have for your fucking factory Honda bike to make that. Number two, it doesn't work on any other fucking company's bike. And number three, no one gives a shit. We just want to fucking know. Did you adjust your sag 2 millimeters? Great. That's fucking awesome. Now I know you adjusted your sag. Thank you. I have info. Thank you. Thank you.
Yep. Well, that's the thing that me and my investors are talking about is if it's not if, but it's just a timeline that we're putting together. If Justin wants to run a KTM and Cole wants to run a Cowie and Travis wants to run a Honda and Tom wants to run a Husky, I don't care. I'll change the plastic so that whatever our team look is, kind of like PC when they rolled out in Orlando the first time, but the team looked the same.
Yeah.
Why would you not give the riders what they want? I mean, that's kind of the platform that we're going off of is if the riders want to run KYB, they'll have KYB. If they want to run XYZ, they want to run Dunlop, Pirelli, I don't care. I'm going to give my riders what they want to produce the results so that when I go, by the way, all of our sponsors that we're talking to, not one of them are inside the sport.
Good.
Because everybody's eating from the same feeding trough. So all it is somebody gets a burr up their bonnet, the bro network goes sideways. Now the funding gets pulled and goes somewhere else. I mean, look at the garbage that TLD is going through. They were told that they have competing sponsors. Last time I checked, Troy's out there beating the bushes to get the sponsors. Like, you never saw any other team have Nature Valley or Nature's Bakery, but you saw TLD. You see, the wheel companies and all the other ones. So I think it's awesome that Troy's like, hey, look, you're going to take support from me because you say my sponsors conflict with yours. Adidas. You need to realize that you're supporting my team. I don't support your team. That's where there's a big, in my opinion, needs to be a paradigm shift.
Troy's one of the best in our sport. We have too many
people that every team is geared towards the OEMs call the shots, which I understand. Some of these salaries are quite big and bonuses are big. Well, why not go raise the capital outside of the sport? You're not eating from the same feeding trough. And the bottom line is, I mean, you guys are very tight with Kevin, right?
Yep.
Kevin is going to put underneath him and Justin Starling what each of them need for the most part. But yet why the OEMs don't do it, which comes all the way back full circle to the irony that all of a sudden Hunter and Jet are very subtle, but they're like, yeah, we made some big adjustments, and I think the results paid off. And as you articulated, it goes back to the 23 settings. Then you go back to the fact that Jet was riding injured, had to stand more than usual on a very, very slippery track, used his legs more than usual, and to add insult to injury, loses a side panel, which means he can't squeeze the bike, which puts more of a demand on his shoulders, and he still wins. That's why I say it's time to pull the alarm.
Yeah. Yeah, well, and I believe it was Mathis in his post-race interviews, he talked to Hunter, and he made the comment about, like, hey, you guys went back
Who's
to the...
that?
Yeah, never heard of her.
I never heard of that guy. Who is that?
Yeah, he's a new media guy, up and comer. He has some high ceilings in his house, from what I've heard. So
I don't watch his show.
Gotcha.
Not my guy.
But anyway, yeah, he asked Hunter.
I've never watched one of his shows.
Travis is a fanboy, so he'll watch anything.
He has the info.
Apologize. There's a little bit of a lag here, so I don't mean to interrupt you.
Oh no, you're okay.
No, I think.
Go ahead.
Blair has the info, and everybody just gets it from him.
You think Blair has? Well, I mean, he probably does. So shout out to him too.
Daniel starts with all the info. He's the man.
Yeah, shout out to him too, because he never ignores me when I ask him something. Him and Jace, probably two of the coolest guys who I've never met in person. They don't have to give me a lick of time or anything. but both of them, if I text them to ask or talk about something, they will text me back at some point. So shout out to both those guys. Yeah, but anyway, so Mathis on his post-race interviews, he talked to Hunter and brought up the 23 settings and was like, seems like it worked pretty well. And Hunter goes, I think it's pretty obvious, isn't it? Like, it worked. So
Exactly.
So, yeah, so they're
it goes back to the whole idea. Why would you not give, I mean, Jet and Hunter are not cheap. Lucas has done a great job, but help do their job to win championships. And thank goodness Lars is in there because he seems to be somebody that will take one on the chin for the team. Yeah, I can't even begin to imagine. And this isn't about pitting one against the other, but compare to Roger telling Cooper, suck it up, Buttercup, what you're riding. It's an amazing difference in the mentality.
It sure is. It sure is. So, okay, so I guess a couple more things, 450, or at least one more here. Sexton's ride last week, was it, and Tom, I'll start with you this time, but Coach, then we'll go to you. Was that a flash? Yeah. Was that a flash in the pan ride that doesn't happen if Jet doesn't go down last week?
I don't know that he knew where Jet was before he started hauling ass.
Okay.
Right? Now the thing is about everyone's talking about this miraculous ride from last week, and it was really good. But he was very consistent. So whereas guys were like his gap off the leader for most of the race was, I think it was 22 seconds.
Yeah.
And then he turned it up toward the end. But everyone else was kind of doing their thing, shuffling back while he was consistently going fast.
Mm-hmm.
And then he got that fuck you energy toward the end and sent it, right?
Yep.
The flash in the pan, I don't think so. I think that in my opinion, with Chase, it's very confidence based.
Okay.
And that's good and bad. That's good when he's mad or when he's confident, because he can go out there and try to kill you on your way by, right?
Yep.
But also when he's intimidated or when he feels that someone else has the advantage, it costs him.
Okay.
That's just my opinion.
Head case is what you're saying.
I mean, you could say that, but it's everybody.
Okay. Coach, your thoughts on that flash in the pan ride last week, and does that ride happen if Jet doesn't go down?
I think that ride would happen. I think Chase is the type of guy, he does race the track. We could kind of spitball all day long. He's super motivated because he saw Jet laying wadded up. I would think so for sure. But to Tom's point, I don't think at that point it's like just race the track, go forward. That's a big gap because if you saw that kind of a wreck, you knew he wasn't just going to bounce back up the way that Deegan did after his helicopter ride. I mean, that was a straight digger.
Yeah.
Between G'ing out the bike, and then you can see he got slapped off the bike. You may not be watching it specifically in 4th or 5th place behind him, but you knew that was but to Tom's point, I think that's what we know Sexton's capable of. I think it goes back to what we said earlier. They're finally giving Sexton what he wants, whether, and Trav, you and Justin have spoken a lot about this, no secret that they're using other companies to put suspension on the bike, and the results are looking better.
TCD Racing.
Some of my good friends.
Weekend. Yeah. So I think, to Tom's point, I think that will be what we see from Sexton going. But here's the exciting part. If we continue to see what Hunter and Jet did this weekend moving forward, because of quote unquote small but significant in transitions they made to the bike, those two guys that are by far more comfortable than Paula, now we're moving into the next round at the same time Sexton's on. Because Sexton was riding good this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
He rode good that second moto.
I'm still not quite sure. I've seen it from different where, like one where he hits that inside and it looks like he was going to jump the lane away and he just kind of, it just doesn't work. That would have been beautiful. It had worked.
It was
if you
awesome
watch that
looking.
in slow motion, he jumps that. And if he could land in that rut and then just completely carry his momentum, everyone would be like, oh my gosh, that would be like the replay of the week on SportsCenter,
Yeah.
No, I think Sexton's exactly where everybody would be. And it's no secret that he's worked extremely hard to get that bike to where he's comfortable. I think it's interesting that he's comfortable on the settings that Webb wanted last year, but that's another story for another day. I think we're in for a hell of a summer. Do we see Sexton and Tomac? No, I think you're going to see walk the dog. I think the spoiler is going to be between Hunter and Sexton for the rest of the summer. I was kind of hoping a little bit more for Jason Anderson, but it doesn't look like he's going to be able to step up to that next rung. So that's why I think it's going to be the Chase, Jet, and Hunter show going through the summer.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, so my personal opinion, and everybody's going to say this is just me just being a Jet homer, and I kind of talked about this on my show last week. I don't think Chase's ride happens last week if Jet doesn't go down. If Jet doesn't go down in that first moto where Chase wins, I don't believe that Chase has the confidence to do what he did in the second moto. So I think we're talking completely differently here if Jet didn't have happened. Now I know that's all ifs, ands, whats, or buts, and it did. But I was honestly shocked yesterday at the way Chase rode yesterday, especially in that first moto, where it's like he just didn't do anything. Like, he didn't get a great start. He was like 5 to 10. I don't remember exactly where. And then he just didn't move. He, got 5th, 6th place there, and like that was it. That was it. And I would have thought with the way he rode last week and all the confidence he had, now he's got the red plate and all this shit, which, by the way, let me just side note real quick, that purple, yellow, and red, oh my God, talk about a boner. Oh, God, on that Honda, that purple background, yellow number, red bike, oh, God, just hard as morning wood, Anyway, but I thought with the confidence Chase had coming in that he was going to really give these guys a run for their money yesterday, and he just didn't. And then to hit the ground, I think both motos, right? Because he crashed first moto and then he crashed second moto too. It was just like, wow, what a dud of a day. And like, he rode better that second moto, but the first one was just such a dud. I was just like, I don't understand.
So you think that Chase's ride last week was an opportunity? It was the opportunity that was the catalyst for his performance?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Like I said, I think if Jet wins that first moto and Sexton even gets up and finishes second like he has been or whatever, which could have happened, I don't think you see that heroic 40 to first ride in the second moto. I think he goes down, and I think he gets back inside the top 5, but I think that's all you see. And then again, I think you're looking at Jet doing possibly another 1-1, maybe a 1-2, whatever, depending upon what Hunter does. And like, we're in a completely different boat than we are now. So I don't know. That was a bit of a letdown there with how he performed yesterday, thinking of how this could go with the confidence he had and the way the ride went and the points lead and everything. So, but anyway, moving on to some 250 stuff. And Coach, we'll start with you on this one. That Hymas ride in that second moto yesterday, is this legit, or are we looking at another Sexton kind of flash in the pan, and by next week at High Point we'll kind of just be back to like a 3 to 6 guy type thing? Or do you think he's legit and this is what we're going to see the rest of the year here, is him kind of weaseling his way into that Vial Kitchen Deegan battle?
Can I rephrase this a little bit?
Sure, go ahead.
What do you see Hymas's ceiling, Coach? Because he's young, right? So
yeah,
he could be next year. He could be unstoppable for all we know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think ceiling wise, it's right. If you kind of look at the progression over the last couple of years, it wasn't that long ago he was out there bars at Loretta's. I think he was actually the last time he was there, so he didn't really show his true potential. I think it's in line with what his progression and what Lucas and those guys expect from him. I don't think we'll continue to see that second moto type of result unless he continues to get good starts. If Deegan had gone, let's say that he needed that number 1 spot in the second moto, there's no way Hymas would have won. There's just absolutely no way. I mean, Deegan even admitted, hey, look, I'm looking at job for Hymas, but I didn't need to beat him to get the overall. Smart enough to realize, manage the championship, lose the battle, win the war, kind of a thing. We talked about Deegan here. I think Deegan's athletic maturity, whether it's coming from his dad, coming from Star Yamaha, whether it was that time with Tomac, I don't know, I don't really care. But we cannot argue that Deegan is a completely different athlete than he was last year. You can say it's because his balls dropped, et cetera, et cetera. We'll talk about that in a moment. But Hyman, if he gets a good start and nobody needs to beat him, I think you would continue to see him be able to stay run. He's got great equipment. We know the Honda's capable. We would be able to see him be a front runner every weekend? No, because his starts aren't consistent enough. Not to change the subject, Trav, but what I would be curious about, and you know this better than anybody, when it comes to who's got the biggest dick swinging contest won underneath the awning, think about what Joe Shimoda and Hymas have going on.
Yeah, so that's an interesting point you bring up.
Because Shimoda's got to be making 2 to 3 times more than Hymas.
100%. He's the highest paid 250 guy out there.
Yeah, and so you've got, Hymas, who's been very consistent. I thought it's very commendable, and you've heard me complain about this publicly quite often. The fact that he took time off to get his knee. He decided not to take. I can't remember what the timeline was. I think a lot of people were surprised that he just pulled the plug. And did he go get his knee done, or did not get his knee done?
He went. So last year he rode, I don't know, the 5 Supercross or whatever he was doing. Rode the first 2 or 3 rounds of outdoors. Hurt his knee, and then just immediately pulled the plug and sent him to get his knee fixed. And then he immediately retore it this year at the first round at East Coast in Detroit there.
Whoopsie.
And then, like, literally in the first practice, too. Like, fucking sucks. And then now he's like, screw it, like, we're just going to ride through it. And obviously, we're all seeing how that's going, which is pretty decent, so...
Yep. Well, that's where it goes back to, like Tom was saying, when you get, because I think Deegan will be out of the class this year. We know that Jordan Smith signed a 32-year deal with Triumph, so he's going to be in the 250 class for a long time. But Jordan, as you always say, Trav, Jordan's doing what Jordan does. He goes 132 or something. My point being is, stop and think about, I think Levi is a little disappointing outdoors so far, especially with him having so much thunder. But I don't really think that that's a fair comment. I'm going to contradict myself here, because I don't think he spent a lot of time trying to get the outdoor bike set up, because obviously the championship went to the final race of the year. Outside of those 3, though, you got you got Hayden, you have Levi, and then you have, Levi, Hayden, and Vial. Who's a consistent 250 guy? Hymas would be the next one up to bat based on what we've seen in the first 3 rounds.
You're forgetting the winningest rider in the class, Joey Savacci.
Well, you're going to owe me $400, big.
No. Let me get you straight. No.
Number one, that guy can't. In all fairness, and you're right in this area, that guy can't get a break the first couple rounds. My gosh, does he have a magnet where everybody takes him out in the first turn? At least one moto.
Dude,
poor guy.
First turn, electrical issue, can't buy a start. But I heard an interview with with Scuba, and he's like, "Look, we're going back to work on starts this week. I know if we don't get him this week, the week off, that's all Joey will want to do. No big deal."
When you're at that level doing starts, we're talking very, very small changes, very small, subtle, because it happens so fast, right? When you watch Jet do his practice starts now, it's very interesting. That bike just kind of drops and just drives. It doesn't spin at all. It's very, very interesting to watch. The technology and how much that has changed the sport is really interesting.
Honda has that start map just absolutely fucking dialed. And we saw it last year, and it continues this year. So I do think that if Triumph gets some of that stuff dialed in for him, I do believe the starts will be better, and then you're going to owe me $400.
There's no way he can hold the intensity of those other boys. I mean, it's one thing to put a heater down in practice, and he's a grown man in a young man's sport. There's athletic maturity. We know that Bobby Hewitt and Scuba Steve over there at Triumph are doing a great job. But I just think to be able to go 2 30+ twos with a 1 hour break, I just don't see it happen.
Coach, he's going to win an overall doing like a 2-3.
I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, we've seen some really crazy numbers. I was actually talking to Michaela about it, watching the race last night. And some people would argue with me. I guess I'm a little bit old, but it's still frustrating to me that somebody can go 2-2 for a third overall. I'm like, that's just bullshit. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So, at any rate, when you factor all that in, the way that the points and the way an overall is attainable, nothing would surprise me anymore. And do we think Joey's capable? Would anybody be surprised? No, I wouldn't be surprised. I just think when you look at the piss and vinegar these young guys. And then once again, I'm going to contradict myself. Right now, there's only 3 guys that show that they're even competitive. And if you get Savatgy that gets a good start, yeah, maybe, like you say, he goes up there and runs 3-4, 2-3, whatever, gets an overall. I'd be surprised, but I just don't see it happening. I think there's too many odds against him in this outdoor class.
Yeah, maybe.
I'm waiting to see the 2025 Honda 250 and how that changes things. I really think that with a little bit of confidence, like a new bike or something along those lines, or even just going to somewhere where he's had success before, that Joe Shimoda could come out and have that speed we've seen from him before.
Oh, boy. I don't know. The Shimoda thing is kind of... I lack confidence in him in the first half of any season at this point.
He's not the consistent...
I don't think nobody will argue with you on that one, including himself. And can you imagine Lucas Myrtle? I like that guy. I got great guy all the way around. But can you imagine if Joe doesn't come on like a steamroller at the end of Supercross and then doesn't come on like a steamroller at the end of Outdoors? What does that leave Lucas to be able to negotiate?
Yeah, I mean, the one thing, this point was brought up on something I was listening to this week. The one thing to note is, so Hymas rides a Lawrence setup, okay? He rides a setup very similar to what Jet and Hunter rode on the 250. All right, sweet. Shimoda does not. So Hymas has that initial head start of proven setup that they've tinkered with and tested with and everything else, where Joe is basically creating his own. Which,
how much different is it really?
I don't know.
Because
I'm just saying, someone brought it up, and I'm like, well, that is a good point of if you're trying to go from literally scratch, because let's face it, he's been at Kawasaki for however many years here. I mean, It's different. It's way different, so I don't know. We'll see.
It's tricky because Hymas rides at the front of the bike.
Talking to Mike more.
Hymas rides the front of the bike, and Joe rides the back of the bike.
Mm-hmm.
So the setup for that's quite a bit different. The balance of the bike.
Yeah.
The balance is like step one for getting your bike set up. And being that much different right off the hop, it's quite a difference.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Well, nobody...
Go ahead.
We would be surprised if all of a sudden there's a huge shift and then all of a sudden Joe's in the mix. I think it's interesting, speaking of Lucas, the fact that he's now representing Vial, and you think about what kind of opportunities is he going to have at the end of this season with Lucas representing him with his second year showing progress on the 250. Does he stay underneath the KTM? Does he bump Plessinger? We can talk about Vial here in a moment, but who are truly, right now, I think we're pretty comfortable with who the top 3 guys are. Hymas is going, hey, he's letting people know there. Got a good start. Hayden didn't need to run him down. Levi, I think, is not completely set up on the bike yet just because of the late season at Supercross. How cool is the second half of the season going to be? And we get a little bit more East Coast type dirt. Think about what we're about to see get into the second half of the 250 class of the outdoor season.
Yeah, I think
just be the class to watch.
I think once we get into like Southwick after the break here and stuff, it's going to start getting much more interesting here.
I hope that they find a way to groom Southwick to where it's gnarly as absolute hell like it used to be. It's kind of not as sandy deep as it once was.
Yeah, the sand's washing away is what I've heard, so they're closer to the base than we used to.
What's the age difference between Deegan and Vial? Do you know?
It's got to be like 4 years, because I think Vial's like 22-ish, and Deegan's 18. His birthday's in, when the hell did... I don't know. I got slayed in the comments for that.
Imagine that. Travis embraces that. Some of he and I think maybe Justin are like, yeah, they kind of welcome it. I fucking hate that. If you got nothing nice to say, shut the hell up.
No, I didn't have Deegan's birthday on my calendar, so I'm an asshole. Okay.
Yeah, well.
Yeah.
There was I made the mistake in show 272 of looking at the comments. I never do, but I made the mistake of doing it. And there's somebody flaming me for saying, why is Phil out there when he's already semi-retired? And guess what the fuck happens to Phil, right?
Uh-huh.
Why bother? Why go get hurt for over nothing?
Yep.
I just think it's interesting when we get into the second half of the outdoor season in that athletic maturity, do we see the difference of years of gate drops, MXGPs? That's where I think Vial is going to be very be on the tail end of this. Now, if Vial keeps putting himself on the ground with silly mistakes, as he articulated yesterday, it's going to make it real easy for Deegan to get a points gap that can't be bridged. But if he can keep it down, I liked what JT Money said during the show. It's just a little few points here and a few points there that don't seem big initially, but he's almost a full moto behind already.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And like JT Money said, it's like, gosh, man, we're going to round number 4. Yeah, we see that Vial's got the speed, but it may be day late and a dollar short, because outside of top 3, who does Deegan really have? I mean, I don't know the math off top, but if Deegan goes top 2, top 3 for the next X amount of races, could he still hold on to the championship? I mean, that's what the conversation is going to get to. And at that point, I'm going with the athletic maturity of Vial on the backside. Like Tom said, get a track that's super rough, super gnarly, a little bit more European-esque, that's going to require some really, really deep lungs.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And put all PEDs aside and all the jokes and everything else. That's where you run into Vial. It's going to run circles around these young boys.
Yep. Okay, Coach, so one more thing for you here before we let you go. I ranted.
There's no rush. I've got plenty of time, man.
Okay. I ranted a couple weeks ago when it first happened, the Masterpool to PC deal.
Mm-hmm.
What are your thoughts on that? Because to me, and this is, I don't know if you watch the show, so I'll just briefly run you over my rant here. It was a stupid idea, in my opinion, for him to go there. He's going to do maybe the same, if not worse, as he would in the 450 class on a privateer bike. He had a run in 250s, as we all know, on Star Yamaha, where he had a couple flashes in the pan, like that Red Bud race where he led whole shots and leads like 3/4 of it or whatever. To me, there's really nothing to be gained. He's like we'll call it 3 to 8 guy on that PC 250. He's probably a 5 to 10 guy on the privateer 450. I think there stands to be more to gain if he rides the 450, not only from a monetary standpoint, because he'll make more money. Because I know how those PC fill-in rides for the summer work. It is basically, well, here's your bonus structure, and we'll pay for you to get there, but like we're not giving you any money. And so then at the end of the summer, yes, he's going to be able to say he rode for PC, and yes, it's okay, but like nothing will come of it other than he spent another year on a bike that, again, didn't really improve his results.
Now, Coach, I was on that same show, and I was the protagonist, not the antagonist, and I'm saying, hell yeah, Masterpool. Like, that's, if you're trying to make a move to be Ricky Carmichael, that's your way to be more competitive and have a better shot at becoming Ricky Carmichael. If you're trying to be there and have longevity in the sport and make an extra $3,000, then maybe that's not your move. But if you're trying to become Ricky Carmichael, man, that was my vantage point, right?
No, I can see both of your points, and I agree with both of you. The number one question that I had is, and as soon as I heard that he went over to PC, I reached out to Derek Harris at HP Development, and my question was, because Derek, as you guys know, he does the Navigating Amateur Motocross podcast. And you guys know I'm loyal to we're probably loyal to a fault sometimes. First thing I thought about is, what a kick in the groin to HBI. You have this team. You've got Masterpool, who's already burnt through Star. You've got Masterpool that's been given shots here and there with different teams. Maybe some people would say that the tenure of those different opportunities wasn't long enough. I'll grant you that. But what an absolute groin for the owner of HBI to say, hey, thanks for the last couple of years, but I've got this opportunity to go over to PC. Trav, to your point, I can tell you that you're 100% accurate. There's absolutely no salary whatsoever. There's some expenses that Masterpool has to pay behind the scenes, like his own practice mechanic. There's other things that he has to pay for.
Oh, wow.
So when you start adding the pros and cons, like, okay, yeah, I understand. You get like Tom's point, you get a chance to go to PC, maybe the revelation of the summer. Maybe you start going out and you beat Levi Kitchen. Let's say Hammaker and those guys come back, Forkner comes back, and you put them in the hurt locker. To Tom's point, hell yeah, you leveraged an opportunity, but it hasn't at Star. It didn't happen at HBI. It's not happening at PC in the first three. Now, it's not really fair because what did he do? He rode the bike for like 4 laps before Paula or something. Nobody holds that over his head, but he was fastest qualifier this weekend and didn't stay up front. So, okay, your fastest qualifier, you started extremely well. You couldn't stay up front on a PC bike. Now we're back to the curse of PC. If you can't win on PC, where could you win? So, I don't know. To me, I have why I say I agree with both of you. If you're playing the long game and you can leverage it, absolutely the best chess game and you won. But to your point, Trav, why would you do that? You're taking money out of your pocket to go race for another team to possibly win them another championship, and maybe you do it for a season or two, but we've seen that. You may win for them, but that doesn't mean they retain you the next year. Because we don't know what's going on with Fortner's contract. We know him got an extension. We know Crashadoo got an extension. So where would that actually leave into the season?
Yeah, I mean,
because if who's the redheaded kid? Is it Seth Dennis, the redheaded kid?
No, Drew Adams.
300.
So if Drew Adams is coming up, then he gets the 4th spot. Think about it. You've got Forkner, Crashadoo. You got Crashadoo and Hammaker extended. They're there next year. Forkner, I don't know what's going on with. And now all of a sudden you think about this 4th spot, right? Well, if you've got Levi Kitchen, which I think has a 2-year, you've got 3 of the 4 spots. Is it Forkner, or is it going to be Masterpool at the end of the year?
And Masterpool can't ride Supercross.
Man crush
No, it can't.
has on Forkner. What's that?
I said Masterpool can't ride Supercross. Like, he's just not great at it. So, yeah, so Fork's going to get the nod every time. I said, we've seen this before. I watched it. I watched it with someone that I guess you would call it personally know. Mitchell Harrison did this in 2021 also. He got a fill-in ride with PC for outdoors. He ran top 5 every single race. And when you get to the end of the summer, Mitch looks at you and goes, "Thanks for your service," shakes your hand, and like, "See you later." And that's why, like, I'm with you. I know all the ins and outs of like what you have to pay for, what gets paid for, what your setup is, what your salary is, all that kind of stuff with a fill-in ride. And it's like,
I wouldn't mind that if I was Mitchell Harrison.
it's like, again, you had the same thing with Mitchell as we have with Ty Masterpool. Went to Star, had issues, like, and again, Mitchell's thing wasn't even like
got better.
Like Ty's situation was that Ty's situation at Star was they didn't ride Supercross at all, period. And then like Mitchell's situation at Star was like a health issue combined with, maybe we'll call it some subpar results then. He's much better now.
He's growing a lot.
Yeah, but some subpar results then, which we all know that Star is heavily results based. So if you're not cutting the meat, then they just cut you, period, which is what happened with him. And so then he gets this PC ride, which he too had the same gleam in his eye when I talked to him then, that you would think Masterpool has now, of like, ooh, I'm going to do this and that's going to give me results and it's going to be a fill-in. And again, he crushed it doing that fill-in ride. Top 5 every single moto. And what did it get you at the end? It got you nothing.
That's bullshit. He went to Canada for a factory deal and did very well up there.
Okay, but what I mean is, in the U.S. here, it got him nothing. Did he get a factory ride out of it? No. He's got a pretty decent gig now with the, I think it's the Partzilla whatever team there. Partzilla
It got him a factory ride up there though, and he did very well with it.
Okay, but that's not a factory ride in the U.S. If you're asking
Semantics.
him, hey,
but take it one step. But take it one step further. What about the owners of HBI who they reached out and they put a bike underneath Ty when he started doing well, right?
Yep.
So then he starts getting the team some recognition. He starts to get some sponsors for the team. The team took a risk on him and brought him in. He returned the favor, got some results, then fails. And this is exactly why this sport continues to cannibalize itself. Now, I'm not saying, to Tom's point, certainly we all want to further our opportunities. But if you literally sit with a pros and cons list of what came out of it versus what he lost, you have a team that was essentially, I want to articulate this the wrong way. I'm not saying all of the resources at HBI were geared towards Ty, but the lion's share of them were. And so what does he give back to HBI, hey,
Yeah, what's the
I've got
return
a
on the
slightly
investment, right?
different opportunity. I wouldn't say a better opportunity, but a different, and I bail. And this is one of the number one problems. I mean, I've talked to my private investors about this, and Trav, you and I talked about this off the record. This is why Supercross, the idea of the net equity team increasing based on what the riders do to build the equity of the team, because the teams don't give anything back to the riders as a percentage of net increase of net worth. Mm-hmm. This is exactly why we have this. I get $10 more from another goggle companies, bail goggle companies. I get $100 more than boot companies, so I bail boot companies. And it's like, if you're Trav, both you and Tom have been around the sport a long time. How many people do you know that own dealerships or are in the industry who pour heart, body, and soul into an amateur for 5, 8, 10 years just to get completely shit on when you go pro? Like, thanks, but no thanks.
Yep.
Something that I don't mean to jump off what you're saying here, Coach, but when we just talked about Mitchell Harrison, that's something I really loved about him going to Monster Pro Circuit Kawasaki, because he was Monster Pro Circuit Kawasaki his entire amateur career. So it was kind of a homecoming for him, although it only lasted one season. It was fun to watch. You always like to see that,
And I wish these fill-in rides in the summer like this did something, but the thing is like, barring winning a damn title, like, none of these teams are signing you, because again, the outdoors, and Coach, you and I know this because we've talked about this a lot, the outdoors just don't matter to these OEMs or these teams, really. Like, they could give a shit less, to be honest. They all do it because they're still technically partnered, and now they've got this SMX thing, which kind of ties them into it a little bit more. But to be honest, they don't give a shit. They'd run 20 rounds of Supercross and hang the boots up and see you in January if these teams really could. Now, like I said, again, they're partnered with outdoors, so we all know how that works, and they do the outdoors. But to be honest, none of them care. So if you don't go in there and absolutely just set the world on fire and win a title, if you've been on factory teams or whatever, you're better off to just stay where you're at, essentially, because that's
not my opinion whatsoever.
None of these teams are going to give you anything to race outdoors, and you're going to, like we've talked about now, spend money, and it's just what's you build more, better rep, better fan base, staying on your privateer thing, doing top fives like that, than going to PC and doing top fives, because now you're just another factory guy that's like not cutting the mustard. You're not winning. You're not cutting the mustard.
Well, I don't exactly agree with you at all about this, but that's okay. What do you think?
You need to
Coach?
add another dynamic to this completely. You've got to add another dynamic to this 100%. If you look at the idea that Super going to expand its series and it was going to squat right on the outdoors, it was the absolute coup of the century that Davey Coombs was able to Feld to partner up and create this SMX series. Mm-hmm. Because if Feld expanded their series and squat 6 races and pretty much puts the outdoors out of business, we would be done with MX. We would be done with outdoor nationals, plain and simple. So if you're looking at the master chess play, you cannot do anything but tip a hat to what Davey Coombs and MX Sports was able to put together, because it's the only thing that saved the outdoor nationals. Stop and think about that. I know that it may not seem like it's relevant to what we're talking about. Tom's point, everybody listening to this show wants the best for the riders to make the greatest amount of money. We can argue over, we're not talking about redistribution of wealth. Mm-hmm. About the idea, if you just modeled some successful sports, like let's just, like, for example, colleges, right? If a college football team gets on TV, that athletic program gets, I don't know the exact numbers nowadays, it used to be $1 million per game. So if you're, I'm going to show my age here, if you're Bobby Bowden and you're the football coach for you, and you're kicking ass, and your school gets on TV, and that athletic department makes $1 million, well, why? How is that model not being emulated? Where how many dollars are being generated? The number of seats. So if the athletes all knew, hey, you guys put on a hell of a show, we're going to give you 1% of the total number of dollars that are generated with seat sales. Okay, all right, we're going to give you 1%. We're going to add it to the the price purse at the end of the night. We're going to add we're going to take 1% of ticket sales. We're going to take 1% of the TV revenue, and we're going to put that on a weekly basis. So this weekend, kind of like PGA, a $50 million purse, and another golf tournament somewhere else may only have 28 million. Well, guess what? You've incentivized the athlete, you've incentivized the promoter, you've incentivized the venue. How do we make this the most populated venue, give them the best race possible, and then let the people who are drawing the people into the crowd? But listen to what we're talking about. We have people, i.e. racers, that are making no money to show up and put their life on the line.
Isn't that crazy?
But every mechanic's is getting paid, every team manager, every truck driver, the Dunlop guy, the suspension guy, the gear guy, the helmet guy. Every single person's getting paid except here. And we let it happen. So now you're back to the subject of we need to have a riders union. And I'm not a big fan of unions. I want to be very public about that. I'm not a big fan of unions. But if you study business at all, the genesis behind any unions were the automobile industry taking advantage of the employees. So guess unions got in place, and now they are what they are, whether you like them or not. Now you come full circle. You've got somebody who's making an executive decision, is given an opportunity, but he's having to pay for his own practice mechanic. And yet he's out there, he's getting, and I'm not into redistribution of wealth, so don't anybody leave a side comment here on you. But you go and you look at the idea that Ty Masterpool is not getting any monster money. He's not getting any specialized money. He's not getting Maxima's money. He's not getting Guts money. He's not getting Fox money.
Wow.
The team is getting the money. So now you go back to, you shit on HBI, who was taking care of you when nobody else would, and you get offered $1 more, and now you're over there. This is where you have to look at all four corners of a business. Where's the loyalty? Well, if the company takes care of their employees, you have employee loyalty. Mm-hmm. Well, how does the company maximize its profits? They redistribute back into the investments of their assets. Would that be people or equipment or whatever? We are the only sport that just literally eats itself alive from the inside out. And it's a shame. Absolutely a shame.
Coach, earlier you mentioned about how you and your investors are considering bringing in outside sponsors, and how we were talking about how Troy Lee does that. And that's one of the most valuable things you could do for our sport. And it's something that I think that Troy Lee is very good at. And whether it's Sony Pictures, Adidas, all of their sponsors they're very rarely inside of the sport sponsors, and that is a huge thing to bring to the table for our sport. And for whatever reason, very few people do. So I give you big props.
Yep.
I commend you for it.
Well, and this is what Travis and I have talked off the air. Where did the Makita money go? Where did the San Manuel dollars go? Where did the Chevy truck dollars go? Where did Cycle Trader go? You know, if you know anything, and I don't want this to come across as condescending, but wealthy Cycle Trader is still in business. They're still advertising somewhere. Makita is still in business. And when you go back to when JG had their race team and Joe Gibbs had the Home Depot car, Coy Gibbs, rest in peace, Coy and his dad offered the motocross team as an added value to the NASCAR program with Home Depot, and they said no thank you.
Wow.
If that doesn't tell you the lack of value that's perceived by our sport, and I'm very fortunate to work with a lot of people in a lot of different industries, and I know of two companies that used to be in the sport and they no longer in because their exact terminology was the sport eats itself alive. We can't be successful across. And probably the best example, if anyone's ever listened to it, is go and listen to Kenny Watson on Whiskey Throttle talk about, for those of you who don't know who Kenny Watson is, Kenny Watson, he was Brian Deegan's mechanic when he ghost rode the bike and won, but to become the marketing director, I don't know if that's the right title, but he was involved with all of the partnership deals for Rick Michael and Hart and Huntington, RCH. Mm-hmm. So he goes and gets Dodge. He goes and gets Jimmy Johnson. and gets these very, very big companies, including a casino. Well, you have Ken Roczen who wins. And so what does the cameraman do? The cameraman was told by the executives, zoom in so that Jimmy John's is not visible on TV because they're not a sponsor of the series. So the owner of Jimmy John's calls up Kenny Watson and is like, what the fuck is going on here? He's like, I pay exposure. Well, the sport, because they're not making money, and we've talked about this, Trav, the idea that CBD was banned until MX Sports could make money on it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, GoPro was banned or Chad Reed's company was banned until GoPro paid them, right? There's just all these little shit things that go on. And so now you listen to Kenny. So now Jimmy John's pulls out. They're like, look, we get no exposure, we're out. Well, at the time, Toyota was the presenting sponsor of the Supercross. And so they've got a Dodge car on there. Dodge, you remember when it was the Dodge and it was the casino and it was Jimmy John's? They come over to Kenny Watson and they're like, you got to get this Dodge car off. He's like, they're a team sponsor. He goes, this is an event. You got to have you cannot have a Dodge product. So Kenny Watson, being as smart as he is, he went to the lift kit, put the car on back of it, lifted it off the ground 3 inches and said it's not on the grounds anymore. So they just kept badgering him until they said, Dodge, you cannot have a Dodge car on property. Dodge bails. So why did RCH not make it? Because the industry literally undermined everything that Kenny Watson did. He lost the casino, he lost Dodge, and he lost Jimmy John's. RCH goes away and Ken Roczen doesn't have a ride. Mm-hmm. How does that happen with Carey Hart and Ricky Carmichael with full backing from Suzuki, and you can't keep a team alive, and the industry says that they don't eat themselves alive?
Yeah, it's really indicative.
It's just, so now when I'm negotiating with these outside companies, what they're saying is they would be in 100% if there was another race series. Because they said, we've invested in the race series and we got essentially screwed. That's the way they describe it. So stop and think about it. I've got $5 million in the bank right now from 2 different investors, and I've got 4 outside the sport sponsors that do not want to get involved because they don't want to race cross and they don't want to race motocross. Now, I'm not saying I'm a big team at $5 million. What am I supposed to do with that? Sit on my hands? Or that's why, Trav, you and I talk so much about it. I'm like, if we went out, because like you, Makita. Now you got Makita in Home Depot. You've got Makita in Lowe's. You've got Makita in Ace Hardware. What happened to the what was the tire store that was Chad Reed's?
Oh, Tire Rack.
American Tire.
American Tire, that's what it was, yeah.
Yeah, where did those dollars go? And because Chad was marketable, right? You look at the sponsors that Chad hit. I loved it because he brought back, this is more my heart, he brought back Bel-Ray, which we haven't seen in decades in our sport. Mm-hmm. Remember when Bel-Ray was on the side of every bike?
They were my first sponsor.
What happened to DG?
As a child. Bel-Ray Oils.
Absolutely.
Was the first one.
And then all of a sudden, Chad Reed brings back Bel-Ray, and then he's got a tire company, money that we've never seen in our sport before. What happened to the money behind Sam Manuel that sponsored James Stewart and Kyle Chisholm?
The
WADA, the OEM dollars.
The WADA ended James's career, and so much for that then.
No, WADA did not end James' career. James ended James's career because he was taking Adderall, but he thought he was too cool for school, and so he just didn't fill out the paperwork. So if MX Sports is going to put all of the decision-making into the hands of USADA, how is that USADA's fault? See, and that's what makes it so funny right now. If you look at the idea that MX Sports has decided that they're not going to use an outside drug company anymore. They say they are, but I've talked to a couple. There hasn't been one round, Supercross or so far motocross, that a drug test has even been put into place.
Wow.
So now you look at the idea, okay, we get into the semantics game. Do you have a drug testing policy? Yes. Do you have a drug testing company? Yes. I'm not here to talk about drug testing, what I'm talking about at all. But when you make a comment that why would MX Sports want to be judge and jury of drugs? Well, because they lost James Stewart. Was a tremendous amount of magazine sales loss. That was a lot of TV revenue loss because we lost James Stewart. So, okay, is that James's fault because he didn't fill out the TUE? Because it was completely legitimate. He had a doctor's script. He wasn't doing anything illegal if you're going to go by, quote unquote, the rules of sport. You guys see where I'm going with all of this? I don't want to sound like I'm being negative here. It's just I'm sitting on $5 million right now that I can't get activated. And that drives me absolutely.
But $5 million is like a Club MX or greater budget at this point. So you're saying you're sitting on essentially a Club MX team that you could put out there, but because of the certain things that have, I'm going to walk carefully on this, because of certain things that have happened in the past by certain promoters, those sponsors will not put those dollars in there as long as that is the premier whatever. And I know there's going to be people out there that are going to come in the comments and come after us for this. And I know that there's certain other people listening that are involved with the promoters that probably don't like us saying it. But this is just real life. I mean, this is not us spewing forth conspiracy shit. This is stuff that has legitimately happened. It's very public knowledge. And now, like you said, we have sponsors that they're saying the same thing of like, hey, we've heard this is what happens. We don't want to be involved at that. If you can find us something different, we'll be involved, but we're not going to be involved in that. So it's one of those things again, and I'm going to tread carefully on this, that like it needs to be looked at heavily of like, what are we doing?
I tell you, I think that something that would be very valuable to our sport, and I think that other people have talked about this, is if we had a Dana White.
Yeah.
Not even so much like a Gary Bettman or something that's the commissioner, but someone that's the face, like it kind of is Davey, but it's not really Davey, right? We need someone that's hired to do the job and can straighten the ship out a little bit. Davey's got a lot of years in this. He's more than anybody, maybe. But he's got skin in the game that makes it
tricky.
Right. So if, like, honestly, I wouldn't want to do that job, but I would be very fucking good at it. If someone came in that had the ability to straighten that out, boy, that would be a huge growth for us.
See, and there's guys like what's it called, like Dave Prater and Mike Mewey that are kind of more like behind the scenes, but are in essence those guys because they're more so hired by Feld as opposed to, like you said, Davey owns MX Sports, owns the outdoor series, all that kind of stuff. So he's got different skin in the game as opposed to like a CEO a la Dana White or whatever that comes in and is just like, yep, I'm getting paid. Like, I don't give a shit. My job is to make this the best it possibly can be type deal.
Dana White's a good example for that because he'll come in and if something's not right, he'll say, no, fuck you, we're going to make it right.
And I've been preaching this for months now. I mean, I brought it up on a show. I think I even cut a segment of it of like, yeah, we need a Dana White. And Jace from Gypsy Tales has brought this up too. We need a Dana White of the entire super motocross thing. Just lock, stock, and barrel. Like, they need to pay to bring in a CEO who's I don't give a fuck. My job is here to make this whole thing work the best it possibly can and make money. And then I think we would have. Now, with that being said, you're going to have a hard time finding somebody that's, especially in today's day and age, that's a Dana White like character
and
that
we'll
is
put up with it.
Yeah, that is like, fuck you, I don't give a shit. Because I do think that Dana White is somewhat of a unicorn in that essence. So, I mean, I'm like you. I don't necessarily want that job.
Man, I would be so good at it.
But I was just saying, but
you got to deal with everybody whining about everything.
I mean, that's the thing is like, that is something where, not toot my own horn too much, but I feel like I could go in there and be like, yeah, I don't give a shit what any of y'all say from the outside, from the inside, whatever. I know what my job is here. Y'all want to come at me with whatever sort of bullshit you want to come at me with. Great, go fuck off. I know what I'm here to do, and I'm going to fucking do it. And I'm not going to listen to any of you who don't have anything to say. And again, this is something that they've kind of done to me over the years, but at the same time, it's like, well, I have an idea of what's going on. Like, if you would like to talk about it, I'm more than willing. Have I been aggressive in the past about how I went about in a very public space running my mouth about things? Yes. Am I necessarily all the way wrong on all of it? No. Should I have worded things better and probably not been a little bit lit and freaking, running my mouth about it as much in the way I did? Yes. But again, that doesn't necessarily make me wrong. And again, I'm more than happy to sit down with any of these. I don't care if it is Prater, Mewey, the guys from Feld, Davey. I'll talk to any of them and be like, look, this is what I think is wrong. This is what I think you're doing wrong. Maybe explain something to me, and I'll take in the info you're giving me. I'll come back with my points, and hopefully we can reach an agreement that we think will be more advantageous to everyone involved and will allow the sport to grow. Because overall, if they would do something like this, it's only better for me also. Like, it's better for them because what I want to do is the same thing they want to do. Or at least what they're saying is make the sport better, make the sport grow. Cool. Let's make the sport grow.
They really need the sport to grow.
I'm going to say the sport grows. They make more money. I make more money. Everybody's happy.
Make the racing better.
And again, like I said, there are things I've said that I've gone hard on, but I was younger days, younger mouth. That happens now at the not old age, but the older age of 35. There are some shows I look back on and go, oh man, you should have worded that way different. Like the point was good, the delivery was shit.
Yeah,
it happens. And I know that they listen, so it's like, okay, this is me extending the olive branch of like, hey, I know I went a little hard, but let's have a conversation.
It would be a great conversation to have because a lot of that stuff's kind of in the dark, and I find that in a situation like that, they are 10 steps ahead of where we think that they are, right? So it'd be a lot more listening. And then you'd be like, okay, well, that's interesting. Now here's what I think we could do about this, that, and the other, right?
Yeah, and that's exactly, like I said, I would be more than thrilled to have a conversation with any of them, whether it's Davey, it's Mewey, it's Prater, it's Pelletier, any of them. Like, let's sit down and talk. I know they've done it with a couple of people. Johnny has been kind of getting spoken to about some certain things, so I know Johnny's definitely had some conversations with them. Again, I'm more than happy to also. I'm not coming in yelling, screaming, fuck you. I'm here to...
Not today.
I'm here to learn, and I'm here to express what I think, coming from a business side of things, coming from a, hey, let's make this grow. Let's make this happen. But I do think your point, absolutely beautiful, of like, look, Feld can still own Supercross. Davey can still own the outdoors. They can... However the fuck it's combined, because I don't know.
Call it a league.
For the SMX.
Now we're a league, right? So make it a league.
Let's be a league, and let's both put money in and get a CEO in here, a la Dana White, that's like, fuck yeah, let's fuck shit up and make this the best we possibly fucking can. And that's going to mean the same thing we've seen already. Give and take on both ends. Let's eliminate another Supercross or two. Let's relook at the motocross schedule. Let's look at these SMX rounds and what we could do with them and how we could do them. Could we do a couple of more? Could we do this? Could we do that? Let's do all of it. You want to know something that and again, I haven't looked at the Supercross or the Pro Motocross thing. Sorry, I'm ranting here. At Holster Co. I was in, here come the comments already. So I was on Formula One's YouTube page yesterday or day before because when I was scrolling YouTube while I was shitting, video pops up, weekend warm-up, which is one of the videos that Formula One does every race weekend, which is basically like 4 hosts standing there at the track. You can kind of see it in the background. It's empty, just talking about some of the major story points. Now, I know we've gotten better over the years here.
Yeah, like a half hour. Here's what's going on.
Yeah, like it was like a 45-minute show, which I was like, that's great. And I listened to a little bit of it because mostly... I'm not that into Formula One. I like the racing. I like the technology, that kind of stuff. But I'm just not that into it that I really care that much. But then the thought crossed my mind of like, okay, Formula One's kind of like the pinnacle. And again, here come the comments against me. But my thought was, how much on actual Formula One's YouTube page, how many videos are they putting out per race weekend?
The organization itself?
The organization itself. Actual Formula One. Any guesses?
No clue.
Coach, you got a guess?
Can't even begin to imagine.
27. 27. And now let me run you down what the actual racing is. There is the race recap. There is the qualifying recap. If they have a sprint race, they sprint race recap. And then there are the 3 practice sessions. So out of 27 pieces of content, and mind you, the race weekend I looked at, which would have been the previous one for Monaco, they didn't have a sprint race. So out of 27 long-form videos that Formula One puts out on YouTube alone, 5 of them had to do with racing. The rest of them, all talking head or press conference, pre-race press conference, post-race press conference, post-race reaction, weekend warm-up, all this other stuff. I couldn't even name them all to you.
So Supercross or outdoors has got to be like, what, 15?
I don't know. I haven't looked at theirs. Outdoors, I don't think as much. And here's the thing:
it's Racer X part of it's the gray area because Davey is also
owns
Racer
X.
Right? So that's
yeah,
tricky.
that's where it gets a little tricky too, because it's like, okay, do you count Racer? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the actual YouTube page for the series because let's compare apples to apples. And I want to go back and look at the Supercross one because, like I said, I know Feld has done better, but this too is where we run into things because. Then you have the Super Motocross thing, and they do the SMX Insider show immediately following it, which is on Peacock too, which I think is great because they just immediately it rolls into if you're watching the race, they're like, stay on for our SMX Insider show here or SMX post race, whatever. Which again, I think that's great. Now, do I necessarily watch that? No, because I watch all the other stuff during the week, so I'm like, I don't need this immediate reaction stuff right here. I probably should watch some of them, but whatever. But I'm just saying, let's get, like you said, let's umbrella this whole thing and let's just get it all on one. If we're going to do this, let's get it where it's just Super Motocross. In my opinion, if this is the direction we're going, where we're going to have the Super Motocross World Championship and we're going to do however many rounds in a stadium and however many rounds at outdoor tracks and then however many rounds in the race car tracks, let's just umbrella it so it's all in one place. Because right now,
That's
I
what
think
they're doing right now, right?
Well,
you mean on YouTube?
No, because you have Monster Energy Supercross or Supercross.
And you're talking about the YouTube? Or are you talking
I'm talking about kind of everything because it's all over everything. You go on Instagram, you go on YouTube, you go on TikTok. Supercross has its own. Pro Motocross has its own. Super Motocross has its own. So it's all separate. It's not a full-blown like umbrella thing. And maybe they change that. Maybe they're working on that. I don't know all the behind the scenes with it. But I'm just saying, if this is the direction we're going to go and we want to make things better, and this is what I'm doing, positive Patty over here trying to make things better, okay, cool. Then let's make it better. Let's do that's one of the recommendations. Bring it all into one. Just start closing out the Supercross page, start closing out the Motocross page, just go Super Motocross. I don't know. That's Holster Co. Reload Rant.
That was the rant?
Think about what.
I guess that's what we're going with.
I think it's a good one. And what is missing out of everything that you just articulated? Because it was very well
TV.
It was very well laid out.
You know
But
something
what's
that
missing?
bugs me, Coach Robb? When I was a kid, one of the biggest reasons that I got into motocross the way I did, and that I got a Z50 Honda, and that I got a Showtime 2 helmet, is because when I was fucking 6 years old or 5 years old, actually 4 years old, now that I think about it, we would be sitting down for dinner on Saturday night at 7:30, and there would be a race on TV. Well, that's not really a thing now, and that drives me absolutely crazy. Peacock's great. Don't get me wrong. I'm not complaining about Peacock, but the fact that it's not on national TV.
I think that's a day and age thing, though. I understand what you're saying because up until the last year and a half here, we'll call it 2 years, I haven't had good enough internet at the house to be able to stream stuff. So I was banking on it having to be on TV because I did have satellite TV at my parents' house. And there were some races that they didn't do them live, you know, up until this point where the Peacock thing is. And now the Peacock thing's full blown and it's like there's barely any that are on. But I do believe that is somewhat a day and age thing. Like you're going to have to get it through YouTube or you're going to have to get it through the thing. The key here is just to make sure that the push social wise and everything is to get the push out there of, hey, everybody's here. And I'm sure that they have people behind the scenes. I'm sure, especially with Feld, who know how to do this stuff. But it's like on Facebook, what do? Okay, the race is in Detroit this weekend. All your Facebook things are going out local area Detroit. You're not pushing nationally as much. All your paid goes to local area because that's what you can do. I know this because I do some of this. And it's just like you would do that where the race is, which would hopefully draw in people to watch it. But you just have to do...
That's asses in the seats.
Well, not only is asses in the seats, but you have to do it for the watching too. Because you would want to... And then that hopefully not only does it push people there, but at least people then would watch it at home, hopefully, and then you start picking people up along the way to continue to watch it. But it's all in today's day and age, it's all social push. Like, you could put the races live on TV.
Why the fuck would you not? You want to make the sport the biggest, best thing on the planet?
That's the deal with NBC.
Okay, so I want to offer a little aside right now.
Yes.
I temporarily, as you know, live in
Yep.
Detroit, and I'm a baseball fan. I love baseball.
Yes.
I don't pay for TV, so this is kind of not really applicable to me, but a lot of baseball fans are really mad right now. Detroit Tigers are a great organization. They've been around since, I think, 26 or something, in 1926. And this is the first season that they pulled Detroit Tigers baseball off of Comcast TV. And now it's just the Bally Sports app or whatever. Most people that fucking watch baseball watch it on their TV. Like, maybe they don't have the bunny ears going anymore, but, like, my grandparents aren't going to get some stupid app. They want to watch the fucking baseball game.
On the Fox Sports channel. Yep.
You know, isn't that dumb?
Yep. But that is unfortunately today's day and age, and the MLB is a terrible thing because the MLB is flipping terrible at this, and I don't really care what baseball thinks of me. So they are notorious for, if you're at the game and you take a video on your phone and you post that they will find that and they will flag you. They're terrible about that.
I've never heard of such a thing.
Oh yeah, it's
Oh, you mean on the YouTube?
YouTube, any of the socials, man. From what I understand, they are the absolute worst, which is part of what has, in essence, destroyed the great American game here. And I've heard this, I mean, it's probably been 5+ years now I've been hearing this, of like how terrible they are. I think it was last year or something, I did hear they were getting a little bit better with it, like if you post it on your Instagram or something. But I know for a while, especially when all the socials started to take off there, you took a video of a guy cranking a home run from your seat, you posted that, they would flag that and get that taken down like that.
That's
you
crazy.
couldn't tag MLB, you couldn't do anything. They wanted to control all of it, and it was literally destroying baseball for a while there.
Well, I want to extend the olive branch to fans watching at home. If you happen to be in the Detroit area and want to go to a Tigers game, let's go. I live on Woodward Avenue. It's the funnest time to be there right now.
So, all right. Well, now I've ranted. Coach, anything else you want to touch on before we let you go here?
Hey, can I ask you, Coach? I want
go
to hear
ahead.
more about this the sweat monitor deal, and I'm not going to give it a dumb name, right? I want to know about it because it's very interesting technology you're bringing here.
Can we go back something real quick on what you guys were just talking about?
Yeah,
Just
go
real
ahead.
Quick.
Yeah, go. Anywhere you want to go.
Everything that you were just talking about, you're talking about like baseball. And Tom, you're a baseball fan. I don't know off the top of my head. How many total Major League Baseball teams are there?
32, I think.
Is that what it is?
So think about it. If you're playing with the Houston Astros and you don't like the management, you get your agent, goes and negotiates with New York Yankees or goes in Colorado Rockies, whatever team, right?
Mm-hmm.
What's missing in motocross and supercross is there's zero competition. There's no way that you would ever get the stars of fill in the blank, baseball, football, hockey. You would never get them to show up and pay to play, and then, you know, based on your results, you may or may not get bonused at the end of the night. So stop and think about that. I don't care if you're a Democrat or a Republican. Competition improves quality and reduces price, and it puts everybody on their toes. Well, when there's no competition, i.e. called a monopoly, what is it that you get? A shit show.
Bullshit, yeah.
So now this is, like you said, Trav, we're not here to try to rip a scab off and then pour salt in it. We're wanting to try to fix it and make it better. I was just talking to a family this week who cannot get a definitive answer on how to get a pro supercross license. They're in a location where there is a supercross track, but you can't practice on the supercross track without a pro license. But they can't get their pro license because they haven't been able to get through the quagmire. They can't get really a definitive answer other than go race some outdoor nationals and they'll be eligible to get your supercross points, which really doesn't make sense. Push aside all of the jokes, right? There's no development program that takes you from Loretta's to A1. You have minor league baseball. You have literally little league baseball that goes through high school, that goes into college, that goes into pros. There's a development program.
Yep. I played
Be
minor
quite
pro hockey,
blunt.
Coach, and the path to success is there.
Yep. And so this is why we started an amateur development program, was to try to help the parents have a better blueprint. That's why we started the navigating amateur motocross, to try to clean up. How does a developing athlete who shows potential, how do you get from A to Z in the quickest way possible? Well, there isn't one. We don't have arena cross. They used to call it the road to supercross. Well, that got obliterated for a multitude of reasons. So number one, there's no competition. Number two, there's no development program. And number three, and this goes back to our team investors, and this is what World Supercross is trying to do. There's not one wealthy individual in the world that would just give out money. Sorry, they just don't do it. There's either a tax break or there's a return on the investment. I give you $1 million, I make 100,000. Great, there's an ROI on my investment. What's the old joke in motocross and supercross? How do you make $1 million in supercross?
Start with about $5 million in the bank right now.
There you go. There you go. So as much as we joke about it, think about how upside down this is. You have investors who can't increase their equity. They can't get an ROI on their investment, so they're out. You have no competition, so therefore you have athletes that are being essentially strong-armed to race for free because we all love it, right? It's in our blood. And I don't want any of the comments below to get snide. Oh, there's never been money in racing. There never should be. Get over it. You guys are on a soapbox. Fuck you.
There's a lot of Muppets that just want to talk on the internet.
That's right. It's one of those situations that we're not calling it out and then just trying to walk away from it. We're saying, here's the problem and here's a potential solution. So if there's no development program, how is a young parent supposed to get their son or daughter onto a fast track to becoming pro? Forget a factory team. Just go pro. Mm-hmm. There's no blueprint.
And it's changed. It changes every year, too.
Exactly. You beat me to the point, Tom. That changes every week, right? If you look at Columbine, they promoted it as, hey, if you're in this area and you're good, everybody's eligible. Bullshit. It's just nothing more than a factory breeding ground for them, being MX Sports, to throw a bone to the OEMs that says, hey, you've got these 3 kids that are on your development program. We'll put them out there in the futures. I understand that. Then call it a factory futures race. Call it for what it actually is. But if the 3 of us, each of us have our own son, and he wants to race in that race, well, we're not eligible. Why? Well, because we're not in the know. Okay, well, that's fine. Well, how's my son supposed to get a supercross license? I can't go to a supercross track because of liability purposes. Of course, they're not going to let any Tom, Dick, or Harry on a supercross track. How is somebody supposed to get better at supercross if you can't get access to a supercross track, and you can't get access to a supercross track unless you have a license? Mm-hmm. Then you go and you look at the futures. Who dominates the futures? A Hayden Deegan, who's got a supercross track, a Daxton Bennett, a Casey Cochran, a Julian Beaumare. So now they're underneath that umbrella, and I have no problem with that whatsoever. Zero problems with it. But what about the rest of the people?
The normal ass
because
people.
Those 8 or 10 people, those guys are not growing the sport. Those are the guys that are not paying for bikes anymore. That's not pulling product through at a dealership level. Mm. Do you see the irony here? Mm-hmm. You say you want to grow the sport, but the people that, if the promoters would allow each one of us to bring our boys to go race, we're going to buy bikes and gear and Dunlop tires and chains and oil and everything. We're going to go spend money to take our sons racing. That's growing the sport at the grassroots level so the dealers can make money. This entire model is upside down and backwards. Not in a negative boo-hoo way, just I'm talking to parents on a weekly basis that's like, we have the discretionary funds, we have a talented rider, but we can't get an answer as to how to get from A to Z in a straight line. But if you have a young son if you have a son that's really good at baseball, you're like, okay, well, here's the stepping. So you said, Tom, how far did you go with hockey? Did you go all the way to pro?
Well, I currently play minor pro.
Okay. So if you were to give us in 5 steps from when you were 5 years old to where you are now, you can say, all right, here's the stepping stones from where I was to where I'm at. It's pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
But the difference is, how many different leagues are there for hockey?
A whole lot of them, actually.
How many teams are there when you go pro?
Well, each league has a number of teams. My league has 6 or 8, but like NHL has 32 teams. And
mm-hmm.
Shoot, I got an offer last year to go to Israel and play hockey. It's everywhere.
But stop and think about it. With options, comes competition. With competition comes elevating the game. With competition comes lower prices. Lower prices to get in, lower prices to compete, and people get paid. But because, unfortunately, there's only one or two promoters in the entire, and then you could get down into the amateur side of things. Each one of us own our own track. So what gets promoted is, hey, if you want to be on the road to Loretta's, you can be an area, which is kind of a sloppy second track. You could become a regional, which you'll make a lot of money because it's the last step to Loretta's. And by the way, if you and I are not getting an area or a regional, if we want to cow down and kiss a lot of behind, they'll put us on a treadmill to get quote-unquote eligibility to become an area or a regional. But let's say that each one of us own our own track, and we're not on the current list of the road to Loretta's. Well, if you sign a contract with MX Sports and now you want to, let's say Cole decides he's going to start a race series with Justin. If they show up to any one of our tracks, we have to now go through MX Sports to get permission because we signed a contract on the road to Loretta's. But they have the discretion to say no other races could be at our track. That's called a monopoly. That's called not letting the sport grow. That's called controlling the narrative. And again, I don't have a vendetta against anybody, but it's the stuff that's going on that nobody talks about. And then we all scratch our head and go, how do we get to the point that pros are literally getting charged to show up and race? Yeah, they sure are. Wait a second. Kyle Chisholm's not getting paid to race, but he's got a bonus. Now, I'm just using Kyle because I used to work with him, and he's a great guy. HP, those guys may be paying him. That's not what I'm insinuating. What I'm saying is, why would a pro racer agree to race for free when a mechanic, a team manager, and a truck driver isn't going to show up for free?
And only one of them has their life on the line.
Yep. And the only reason why I bring it up is how do we get there is why I'm trying to give as much background. Because I don't want somebody to say that we're just throwing a light on one situation. How do we get here? How do we get to where our top pros sans, 12 guys that are in a factory rig at a 450 level? Outside of those 12 factory guys, everybody else is paying to be there.
Yep. So
there's some uncomfortable truths about this right now. I'll tell you, Coach, so coming from being a racer and now being real deep in hockey, it's wild how much different it is. The way things are structured and the way things are organized and promoted, it's very interesting to see both sides. Because when you know motocross in the AMA in the way that we have it here, and not much else, you'd only kind of see it in that light, and then you see how other things are done. Like, for example, seeing how the MXGPs are ran, and it's like, wow, that's interesting. You can do things differently, right?
Money there is worse, though.
Worse at the GPs?
Mm-hmm.
I see.
Like, their bonus program is like the same structure as ours, but the numbers are a lot lower.
You better tell Jason Anderson that.
Mm-hmm. Well, Coach, I could talk to you all day about this stuff, so... but I got to get this wrapped up because I have to get back to moving here. So appreciate you coming on. Again, everyone, make sure to check out Complete Racing Solutions. Coach Robb is there to answer any and all questions you guys have about basically anything physical fitness-wise, health, nutrition-wise. He can help you out with all that.
Happy to help anyway. And Tom, to your point, we have a new device called the Sweat Patch, and it does help you figure out your sweat rate, what you're losing in the sweat. And then we use that information to actually formulate your own custom bag of energy fuel. So I appreciate you asking about it. If anybody has any questions or, if they're dealing with cramping or they're running out of energy late race, even at sprint speed at the beginning, it could be an electrolyte or a sugar issue. So if anybody has any questions, you know where to get in touch with me. And no pun intended, that's why we call it the science of performance. Don't just say hydrate and drink. How much and what should be in your drink is what's really a game changer. So
yeah, the minerals.
I appreciate the
vitamins.
guys.
Yep.
You're a wealth of knowledge, and me personally, I'm so thankful for that. But the fans at home that get engaged and use your expertise, they will appreciate it too.
Well, I appreciate it very much, you guys. I'm glad to call you guys friends, and I'm glad we get to bench race, and hopefully we can make the sport a little bit better. And I want to thank everybody who took the time to listen. And try Trav, thanks for reaching out, man. I always love doing this. You know that.
No problem. Thank you, sir. We'll probably have you on later this summer too, because I got a bunch of shows to fill here. So
no worries. I don't mind being someone's sloppy second. That's all right, Trav. I get it.
Geez.
oh, come on, Coach. You were first. You were first one this week here because freaking Johnny was like, dude, I'm doing a triathlon, and I was like, well, if you want to be soft and not talk afterwards, I mean, okay, whatever. It's fine. I don't understand how your mouth doesn't work after you freaking do a triathlon, but okay, whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
So
no,
all right,
it's all good, and you guys be safe. Thanks for your time.
Yep. Thanks, bud. We'll talk later.
Take care. Peace.
Yep. Bye bye. All right, Coach Robb, everybody.
Great guy.
Yep. Okay. So what we'll do here, because of course we went real long with Coach as always, because Coach loves to talk, and that's what I love about him, because we're all cut from that same cloth here at this table. Let's quickly run through these. We kind of covered most of the major points, but let's run through our 450s and 250s here, and we'll just run through the top 20s like we do. We'll cover those points pretty quickly. We'll touch on anything else you want to touch on, but we'll just kind of touchy. All right. All right. So 450 race recap brought to you by our friends at Gutter Worx. Always well hung. Gutter Worx always well hung, just like Justin Barsha. And Gutter Worx coming to rehang some of my gutters at the house.
Glad to hear it.
Yep. So, all right. So we already kind of touched on this. Again, like I said, we're just going to run through this really quickly just to make sure we hit this, because this is part of the show, is to really recap the race.
Yeah.
So Jet goes 2-1 for first in the 450s.
Looks pretty good.
Looks pretty good. A wounded duck there, and but still pulls this off and makes up 14 points, and basically stays even behind Hunter there. But now he's only, let's see, what does it say here? He is third in points, and I believe he's only like 15 or 16 down, something like that. Like he made up like 14 on Chase. He basically stayed the same behind Hunter there. Okay, I was talking to Issac last week, and he asked me, well, how soon do you think he gets it back? And I said Redbud, and he told me I was fucking nuts. How soon do you think he gets the points lead back?
The points lead?
Yes.
Redbud's 2 rounds from now, correct?
Yeah, so we got High Point, Southwick, and then Redbud. So I assumed by the end of Redbud, which would be 3 more rounds, so it would have been 4 total from when I talked to him, he would have it back.
Southwick's kind of a...
He's good at Southwick.
Yeah.
He rips. Like one, I mean, obviously last year he went 1-1 everywhere, but he rips Southwick. He hasn't. I'll go check. You keep talking. I'll
Redbud's
check.
a safe bet, I think. Yeah.
Let's see here.
It depends on if he's getting 1-1 the rest of the way through here.
Well, he won Southwick in 22 on a 250. Let's see here. He was 6th in 21. Let's see here. Go back. Here we have Southwick before that. Doesn't look like it. So
I really enjoy it, Southwick track. It's really fun.
So he's won twice, and he's been 6th the other time, and I don't remember what happened back in 21 with that. But like I said, I think we get to Redbud. Issac thought it would take longer than that. If it does, it wouldn't. If
15 is not very many to go. 14, 15 is not
he
much.
made up 14 yesterday. Yeah. So it takes one bad one out of Hunter and Chase to just kind of like match, and all of a sudden it's like, okay, cool, we're back in it, like we're there. So, and like I said, he was a wounded duck. He's now got another week to basically rest up, heal up. Like, yeah, it's
unless he goes down and makes gets hurt.
Yep. Yeah. Be fine. Hunter goes 1-2 for second. Now let me ask you this: has Hunter? Because I have this in my notes. Has Hunter found that next level to be a guy?
He is a contender, but I don't think. He is a contender to ride at the pace. He's not, in my eyes, one of the guys that can go another gear when he needs to.
Okay.
He's a guy that can ride that's as fast as hell.
Yeah.
But going back when we were talking about Deegan earlier, right? Deegan can go that extra when he's pissed and he's hunting somebody down. Chase, when he was motivated last week.
Yep.
Can go that extra.
Yep.
I don't see that in the 96.
Okay.
Maybe he can.
I've
seen it before.
He's like Steady Eddie.
We have seen him before when he was younger.
Yeah.
Where he had that coming to get you.
Mm-hmm.
We haven't seen it in a long time.
Yeah. I do think he's found a step, and as James I think it was James brought up on the broadcast, is like we saw on his 250 career, once he took that step then he was just at that level.
Yeah.
And so now I think if he's taking that step, I think he's just going to do the same thing at that level. But I do agree with you. I don't think he has that.
You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, and I don't want to say killer instinct, but like that extra killer gear. Like he doesn't have overdrive. He's in top gear for him, which is 5th, 6th, 7th, whatever you want to say.
And can consistently pull that.
But he'll run that gear forever now. So I do think he's gotten there, but I'm with you. I don't think he has that overdrive. So I think if Jet gets a bad start, things like that, he can still win more motos, is possible, maybe even an overall. But I just don't think he has that next level that if Jet does like he did in the second moto yesterday, where he can get around him and go, he doesn't have that to go with him.
I'm thrilled that he got that win for 2 reasons. One, well, and I like him.
He's my best friend.
I don't stop saying that, and I don't have to hear anybody. Oh, he's got this fucking sick. Nah, shut the hell up. He's good enough to go win. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whereas if you're one of those guys that's searching for your little extra, there's always the stupid little excuses.
Yeah.
Get your excuses stuff out of here.
Justin Cooper goes 3-3 for third, led 27 laps, I think is what it was.
So good.
That was great. And he's riding for a ride. Because,
Is he?
well, Eli is coming back next year. So they had Coker on Pulp on Monday, and they were talking to him, and they were like, well, what do you do with Justin Cooper? Because Eli coming back is great, and that's awesome, but Eli's another year or two, basically, is essentially what we think.
Yeah.
And then you're back on the prowl. Where if you can keep Justin Cooper, that's awesome, because you've probably got several years with Cooper Webb. But if you let Justin Cooper go and then Eli only rides next year, then you're back looking for a 450 guy. You know, what do you do? Because when Cooper goes somewhere, Justin Cooper, he's probably going to sign a 2-year deal, so he won't be available.
At least 2.
Yeah, so he's basically riding for his ride, and doing what he did yesterday is going to force them to come up with more money to have 3 450 guys. And I think, to be honest, I think he deserves. Oh my goodness!
Oopsie. You know the best thing about this whole table? Behind this number plate is
no, put that
Tannerite.
down. Put that down.
Very,
we don't
very
have anything.
nice.
We don't have anything there. There's nothing there.
When we were talking to Coach, I go, I see that.
Yeah,
back there.
there's
That's
nothing there. There's nothing there. So I think this was a great ride by him, and this is what I expect from him, like a 3 to 6 place guy, essentially. Great starts, which we've seen his whole career. He lacks the last 5 minutes of fitness. He was openly admitting that yesterday.
Yeah.
He's like, in the interview I heard he was like, yeah, I got the last 5-10 minutes, and they were like, you got 5 left, and he was like, no, I don't.
For me, he's so good, but he's a little soft still.
He'll get there. This is his career. Podium, moto wins, leading races, whole shots. This is his career. He is a wonderful second guy, or if you're a team that can't afford the literal top guy, he's your top guy, because he's going to do this no matter where he goes. So this was great. This is what we expected to see. Barsha goes 4-6 for fourth, which is impressive. Torn meniscus.
Looks great.
It's fucked. Well, his knee's fucked.
Well, meniscus, I mean, honestly, like we were talking a couple of shows ago, like,
Yeah, he can't.
could be fine.
He's been openly talking about, though, he can't really train during the week or whatever because it hurts so bad. And he hasn't, like, it's been torn for a while, and he hasn't got it checked out because he didn't want to know. Mm-hmm. So, but this is kind of like top of the mark. Like, he may sniff a podium here, in my opinion, with the torn up knee, but I don't necessarily, I don't see him, I don't think he's got the speed to go run with Hunter and Jet and Chase.
Interesting.
He's good, but I just don't think he has, he's like half a notch less. You know, he's in that next group, but he's just half a notch less.
He can go faster. He's just not finding that little bit faster.
Yeah, and with the knee, I don't think it's going to happen. I just don't think it is.
In my experience, so I've had both my knees rebuilt 5 times each.
Yeah.
And sometimes you can't hardly walk, and sometimes it's like, yeah, whatever.
And that's what it sounds like coming from his mouth here. It's not an excuse. He's not making excuses. He's just like, dude, the knee fucking hurts, which I understand, because essentially, for anybody who doesn't know, because I've torn mine too, the meniscus is somewhat like the the stuff between your bones in your knee, and if that tears, it then gets wedged, and that's what causes the pain or the issues that you can run into. It can cause clicking, all that kind of stuff.
I had a big problem with that the last 2 times, where I would have, it felt like there was like a finger sitting.
Yeah.
It was real weird.
And the thing is like, you can go forever without fixing it, because it technically isn't anything other than a little bit of stability and pain issue per se. And the surgery is not super invasive. They just go in, they clip it off, they pull it out, whatever, if they have to. Sometimes they'll reattach it, but a lot of times they'll just clip it because it's
I got
not
some
much.
gnarly surgery videos. I was
Ugh.
very surprised the last couple times. They're like, hey, here's a floppy disk, or not floppy disk, a fucking flash drive. Like,
Oh.
That's hilarious. I just said that, though.
Oh, yeah, floppy disk. Show your age there.
But it shows like them going through with the camera and stuff. It's
Ugh.
like, that's amazing.
No thanks. I don't even want to see that stuff. Oh,
Yeah.
Sexton goes 6'5" for 5th. Again, as I said when Coach was on, just a subpar performance in my opinion, and maybe bounces back next week. Hopefully he does. But that was not the follow-up I expected to see after Hangtown last week.
How was High Point last year?
I don't know. Let's see here. Let's check. Great radio, huh? He didn't race High Point. He got hurt, remember?
Oh.
He got hurt between, what's it called? He got hurt between Fox Raceway and Hangtown last year and didn't race again until Redbud. So, I
High
don't know.
Point's cool. I've had some cool experiences there.
Yeah. Ando goes 10-4 for 6th. He crashed that first moto, which is what the 10th is. Outside of that 4th place, like that's right. He's 3 to 6th place guy in my opinion.
He and Justin Cooper are guys that can go faster, are just kind of looking for it right now.
Yeah. Yep. AP. Did you see AP's gear yesterday?
I did.
Sick, right?
Pretty cool.
I mean, I liked it.
It's kind of a novelty thing.
It
right?
is, but it's sick.
If you're into that stuff, then it's awesome.
I don't know that I'd wear it, but I love that kind of stuff that they do.
Yeah, my nieces and nephews absolutely love AP, which is cool.
Yeah. How did you like? Were you watching? Man, maybe it was the second motos. Will Christian went to interview him, and the
National Anthem?
and he like she literally walked up, asked him a question, put the mic, and he was like, "Whoa," and
I
like
didn't see
put his
that part,
hand
but I
over his
saw him
whole.
do that,
Oh
like,
yeah, no,
just
he
watching
pushed
it.
her away. I was like, "Whoa." Anthem's going. Shut up.
That's great. So for hockey guys like you and I,
Yeah.
there's that movie Slapshot, and the referee in the movie comes up and starts yapping at one of the guys while they're doing the national anthem. And he's like, "Shut up and listen to the song," or whatever. And
Yeah.
it was the same thing to
Yep.
me. And I was like, yes.
Yeah, so he goes 5'8" for 7th, which is good. He's a guy that can get in there and mix it up.
For wins.
Yeah, for wins. He's found that speed, but he can't do it all the time. He's
I think
not
that
consistent
he and I
with
both
it.
were wishing that it would have rained like a son of a bitch at Colorado.
Yeah. Yeah. Stu goes 7'7" for 8th.
Looked good.
What a kick in the nuts. 7'7" for 8th. That's like
Yeah.
that 2-2 for 4th.
Like we were just talking with the coach.
Yeah. So he was saying that he hasn't been there in 10 years. So he's like riding the track in practice going, "Oh, yeah, we go over here and then we go this way." He's like, then the track completely goes the opposite direction now. So it's funny. Yeah.
The last time I was at Colorado
Was when he was there?
was when it was under the lights.
Oh, 08.
Maybe,
Right?
Was it
No.
that
was it-
long ago?
I think so. Yeah.
Damn, I'm old as fuck, apparently. Man, it's wild to think about that.
Yep. Dylan Ferrandis, I have no idea what's going on. 8-9 for 9th. Maybe he's still not happy with the bike. We'll see when we go east there.
The thing about we were talking earlier about like bike setups and stuff. Dude, bikes are so good right now.
Mm-hmm.
Like even if you have one that's a little bit off, or even a stock bike,
Yeah.
they're so fucking good now. It's a stock bike is very similar to what a factory bike used to be.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, how bad is bad?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, and somebody this just popped in my mind too. Somebody asked in the comments last week about him. Is he on an HRC bike or whatever? No, he has HRC parts. I know for sure from what I've heard, he's got an HRC front brake and I believe a transmission. But outside of that, I'm not sure what other parts have magically fallen off the Lawrence's part bench onto his mechanic's part bench at the dog pound down there where he's riding. At some point, someone said for outdoors he was getting a frame from them, but I'm not sure if that actually happened or not. He's not on a full-fledged HRC bike. He is on a Phoenix Honda bike, much like what Brayton used to do, where he'd ride for MCR, and he would get some HRC parts because he was tied in with them, but he's not full-blown HRC. So just so everybody knows, that question was posed, and I'm sure a lot of people do know, but that's what it is. Craig goes 9-10 for 10th. His elbow's getting better. We'll see after the break. After the break is when I start judging him. I'm giving him benefit of the doubt because I'm a big Christian Craig fan.
Elbows are very difficult to heal.
It's weird.
Like
It
I
sucks.
was talking to an old friend of mine, Dave Gilmore, today. A real nice guy.
Yep.
And he did an elbow when we were on 125s, I think. And they are very difficult to heal. Like he only has like a 1/3 range of motion. Like how the hell are you going to go and beat Jet Lawrence with a fucked up elbow?
I don't know, man. I don't know. So, all right. Freddie Noren goes 11-11 for 11th. Justin Hill goes 14-12 for 12th. Michigan's own Marshall Welton, 13-13 for 13th. He's having a good year. And, hey, I just heard in an interview this morning, he's going to the Star Compound to practice.
That's great.
He got invited down there to practice, which makes me just wonder, is he on the radar?
Well,
I mean, hopefully.
of course he is.
We'll be interested to talk to him when we get to Redbud and off the record and see if that's a thing. Grant Harlan goes 12-14 for 14th. Roman Pope goes 16-15 for 15th. Lorenzo Lucrucio, 17-17 for 16th. Jerry Robin, 15-40 for 17th. McElrath, 22-16 for 18th. Chiz, 23-18 for 19th. And wrapping out your top 20, Cullen Park, 20-19 for 20th.
So, hey, when we had Coach on earlier, we were talking about potentially bringing people on the show to explain different aspects of the sport, right? So,
yes.
like Dave Prater, Davey Coombs, that kind of guy.
Yep.
People come to mind. But also interesting would be cool to have like Tim Ritchie of Redbud or guys from Dirt Worx for Supercross or other aspects of this, because there's a lot of things that a casual or hardcore fan don't see and know about, right? And to have those kind of connecting the dots things on our show would be, or on your show, I guess to say, would be very, very enlightening to our crowd. I
have to give it up to Mathis. He has done a better job over the last year of doing that. Tim Ritchie's been on his show talking about some stuff. He's had a couple of different Dirt Worx guys. I believe he's had Alex and Ross from Dirt Worx on there. So he has done a better job of kind of trying to get some of this stuff out there.
Fuck Mathis.
Well, look, I have to give credit where credit's due here. This is new me, not just being like, fuck you. He hasn't directly been an asshole to me yet, so like I'm just going by as a listener.
Yeah.
It's great because I gain some knowledge too from things like that.
For me, I think I've told the story before. It's not about that I don't like his show or whatever. I don't listen because he talked a little shit about some friends of mine, Regals, Kyle Regal in particular.
Oh yeah.
And I don't play that.
He's very opinionated. From what certain people have said, he is much more subdued than he was in previous years, which might have been previous to me being as into the sport as I am, and then probably up until like the last few years here, he's toned it down, because I know when I first started getting really into the sport and I was listening to his stuff, he was very heavy on some things, and now he's toned that back. Age will do that to you. I don't know. Like I said, I haven't had any direct contact with him yet. So right now, I'm still just a fan that's here to say hi, and like whatever he puts out on the show, because he has info. That's one thing I like. He has info, and he is one of the few guys in the media game that is not scared to put info out that he's not even supposed to put out. Like, he'll do that, which helps me connect dots with things I know also. So like whatever. But again, I'm not going to throw total judgment until I have an interaction with him and see how he is. If I have an interaction with him and he treats me like a turd, well, then the gloves start coming off. If I have an interaction with him, he treats me good, okay, great, then we'll go from there. But for right now, I have had zero interactions. I've only seen him. He's kind of like a ghost in my opinion, because I have wanted for the last several years to run into him in the pits, because I have, the access to be in there now through certain things. But like, he's a ghost. I've seen him like twice in the last 3 or 4 years since I've really been around the races in the pits, the races that I go to. So I'm like, this guy's a ghost. I never see him.
By design.
Probably, yeah. He's just in there getting scoops, and then he's out.
Yeah,
so
goes to the truck and whatever else.
So we'll see.
He's only ever been nice to me, and I don't watch his show or any of that stuff. So I'm not nothing personal between like that. I'm not shitting on the guy, but I'm a loyal motherfucker.
I understand. I understand. I'm not saying shit. And I know, like I said, I know back in the day he had some hot takes, and there are some things right now that I know he won't touch with a 10-foot pole because of biases he has. That's fair. But at the same time, it's like there's a bit of a disservice you're doing for some certain things, because there's a lot of people that do follow him as final word on the sport for different things, and it's like, bro, there's a bias he has towards this that fucks what he'll talk about with it. And well, that's different story for a different day when I'm feeling feisty. That's been your 450 race recap brought to you by our friends at Worx. Always well hung, just like Justin Barsha. And now we'll jump into your 250 race recap brought to you by one of our newest sponsors, Flo Racing, for all your mini bike needs. They also do work on big bikes, but they build fantastic PW50s. And they,
Oil?
No, Flo.
I know, but
Oh.
is that the oil company?
Oh, no. We're in the process.
I see.
We're talking.
Good.
Did you watch the video they did?
No.
I posted it on the story the other day. I'll send it to you. They did a really good job, especially for someone dropping the ball on getting his footage uploaded to the Google Drive. So what they had, they used, and it came out awesome. For anybody who didn't see it, we did a test with RevX Oil. We're in the process of talking to them about coming on board with the show, and they did a fantastic video. I'll put it in the story again this week a couple of times. They did a fantastic video on YouTube of, we went and did a test. It was me kind of being the spokesperson for how is this test going to go. I had my neighbor kid, Hunter, who's like a Schoolboy 2 rider. Neighbor kid, literally, he's my neighbor. I had him riding and testing. Cole came out, rode and tested with it, and then a friend of the show, Doug Lindsay, who is president of the Battle Creek Motorcycle Club, came out and tested also. It's a wonderful video. Again, I'll post it this week, so if you want to see it, I'll post it on our story here a couple more times this week, so that way you guys can check it out. Because like I said, it was a fantastic video, and they put things in there that I didn't know they were going to put in there, that was not necessarily us just being like, this is the most fantastic product ever. So I give those guys a lot of credit that they were not scared. So I was actually talking to the owner because that yellow frame out there is for him.
Oh.
So, so he's coming Monday to pick that up. So we'll see. He's at Battle Creek right now, or he was yesterday, handing out product too, and to people to test out and things like that. So
I love that track.
Local company, yeah. I never can get that back section. Did I tell you that, like, when we went there
slow.
did I tell you when we went to do the test? Well, I can't remember it. What I mean is I can't remember, like, I go over this jump and turn right, I go over this jump and turn left. And so the last one, they had a race there not too long ago, and they hadn't really groomed. And so the last jump there, it like had created a pocket and almost like a triple over it. And so like one of the last laps I was riding, I was cruising down through there. I kind of started to pick it up. I only got to ride for 15 minutes when we did the test because I rode before we tested, and that was it. So I only went out once, rode like 5 laps for like 15 minutes, whatever. Anyway, and I was going in a higher gear. I was in 4th compared to 3rd, which I normally am going down that. And I jumped that one. And as I went off the lip, I went, fuck, I'm going way faster. And then I'm like looking, I'm like, I'm not fast enough to make that. So I'm like hung off the back and like landing in this pocket, but like facing this essentially roller landing that they'd created there. And I mean, dude, I was hanging so far that like when I landed, I like pulled more, and I was like, oh my God, I'm about to die. I saved it. It was
Please
sketchy.
tell me they put it in the movie.
It was sketchy. No one was filming. I didn't even have a GoPro on my head. Like, I was so mad because I didn't even have a GoPro. Because I went off that because I'd done it several laps in a row, and I was very conscious of, like, I don't remember that section well. So, like, pay attention. And I still couldn't sit here and tell you now, which is weird because, like, Redbud, I can run that whole track from you. But Battle Creek, I always have issues. Anyway, but I was like, okay, cool, let's carry some more speed so I can actually try to really get most of these, because I usually run out about halfway down that straightaway. And I did. And then I got to that one, and I was going faster than normal, and I was just like, oh, fuck. So, and after what happened last year, where I broke an ankle, I'm like, damn it. Like, really, like, 3rd time riding, and the first time I've really rode a track this year, and this is what I'm going to fucking do? Sweet.
You think just by OJ and you're going to break a leg? No.
I'm not sure. Dude, I mean, let's face it. Since I did that, I've rode a few times where nothing's happened, and none of it was at a track. It was other than the track in the yard. So it was like, oh boy.
You broke that here, right?
Yeah. First time I rode last year. Literally fucking 1.5 feet short, and just landed on the wrong part of my foot. That was all there was to it. If I'd have moved my foot 2 inches forward, good to go. But because I was literally on my toes, allowed it to hyperextend and pull that ligament. So anyway, we did do that test. It was awesome. Shout out RevX Oil. They're not on board with us yet, but hopefully soon. So we final negotiations.
We left off at Pro Flo.
But yes, Pro Flo, who does the mini bike stuff. They built Ellie's PW50. They build sick national caliber race PW50s. They're fucking sick. I've coated so many of them because I coat for them too. They're awesome. Any color you want, any graphic style you want. I mean, he'll make that bike just fucking sing. Never had an issue with it. One time I had to turn one carb screw a partial turn after like a year and a half of the kid riding it to get it to run right. And all it was the, whatever the, I don't know the technical name. I'm not that good with carburetors. It was whatever one, adjust your idle a little bit.
Oh, my God. Okay. Idle screw. Yeah.
Okay, that's literally what it's called. I was going to say that, and then I was like, this is going to be stupid. I'm going to sound like a fucking idiot, which I am anyway. But, okay, the idle screw. I had to turn the idle screw partial turn more to make it idle slightly higher because for some reason it was dying, essentially. We did that. Haven't had an issue since. Now we don't ride it because she rides 110. But
she's very comfy on that 110. I saw it today.
Bro, she's ripping. Crashed the other day.
Good.
I don't know what the hell happened. I was at Lowe's. I get a call. Dad, I crashed. You all right? Well, my knee hurts. Is the bike okay? I think so. Bars are a little tweaked. I gotta loosen them up, tweak them back, but whatever. It's fine. She was fine. She rode the next day. Everything was fine. I think she pushed the front end or something in the grass. No big deal. Oh, well, you didn't walk the back. We basically have a goat trail track around the house. That's how much she's been riding that damn thing. So, Matt, when I was talking to him the other night, because her and his youngest, Fisher, he rides a 110 too. They were riding the other night, and he was like, hey, man, you want me to just take the brush hog and brush hog along the field and stuff and just make a big path for them to ride? I'm like, yes, please do that, because I don't necessarily want to own a house, and having a track there would be sweet, but I don't need a goat trail track through my yard. No. Like,
it sucks to mow.
Yeah, so, like, yes, please do that. So
my dad used to go crazy when we ride in the yard, because I'm a cornering guy, right?
Yeah.
And as soon as you do a couple corners in the same spot, you got a rut going. Right?
Yep.
Oh my God, he would go so mad.
Yep. Happens out here. That's why the figure eight's way in the back, because I'm like, yeah, I could go all through the yard and have a really cool corner track, but my dad will start screaming at me.
That alfalfa field behind you, are they going to cut that?
So that's not alfalfa. That's actual hay.
What do you think the hay is? Alfalfa is one of the components of hay.
I thought alfalfa was different than hay. I'm confused.
You're talking straw.
Okay, whatever. Anyway.
Straw is different.
Are they going to cut it? Yes, they will. At some point, if it dries out enough, but that's the key this year, is it hasn't been dry enough for them to actually cut it yet.
They should be about 2 weeks out, maybe 3 weeks out.
He was close when I talked to him a few weeks ago about it. He was close to wanting to cut it, but he's like, that field, because it has low spots, we can't cut it and just leave it there wet for super long. So he was waiting for it to dry out. It is a little bit drier now, so hopefully if it doesn't rain a bunch this week, maybe they'll cut it soon. So I don't know. We'll see.
I come from farming as a kid, so this is right up my alley.
All right, let's wrap this up here. So like I said, 250 race recap here. Now getting to this. Brought to you by our friends at ProFlow. Make sure there's a link in the description. You know what? I'm done talking. There's a link in the description. Let's get to this 250 here. And we're going to start out just like we have for the first two rounds with your Isaac Nelson Designs Deegan Danger Zone here. Dude, he's the man right now.
It's fucking awesome.
He's won 4 out of 6. That second one yesterday, he openly said, look, I didn't have to have Hymas for it, so like I wasn't going to push that hard. He's starting to think big picture. He's getting, in my opinion, some athletic maturity here as far as like on the bike. I mean, you can see it. He's just the fucking man right now in this class.
Very impressive.
There was a void when Hunter and Jay Coop left here, and he was like, I'm going to jump right in that void, which is what he's doing. So, I mean, he's the title guy right now.
Yeah.
Vial, as Coach brought up, he's almost a moto down. He's very good, but he's almost a moto down already. And like, if he's not careful next week, if he doesn't come out, and Vial needs to win a moto next week.
He's consistent.
He is, but if he doesn't win a moto or at least beat Deegan in one of the two motos and start to make up some points, it's going to be over before this even starts. At this point, you're going to be 4 rounds in. You're going to be a moto down without a crash. Like, that's a fucking problem. So,
well, it's a long season to be staying healthy when you go as fast as Deegan does.
It is, and he does rev the piss out of the bike, and we know that can cause issues, as we saw last year when the bike blew up. So there are things that can happen, but as of right now, man, it is. He took a step for outdoors. He took a step, and maybe we would have got this in Supercross had he not had that wrist injury that wasn't a wrist injury before the season started.
It wasn't?
Well, he didn't talk about it until we were like 4 or 5 rounds in. We all knew it happened. We all knew it was a thing, but it just wasn't talked about.
He's got an awful similarity, awful lot of similarity to Ricky Carmichael.
Grit. That's the word I'm using for him. He's
like that.
gritty, which is amazing. I was thinking about this yesterday watching the race. I'm like, as gritty as this kid is for being a rich kid is impressive, which makes me think he'll go far because he is grit. Because it would be very easy, you know this as well as I do, through personal experience, to be that kid that has all that money, which they do, and have the access to everything and not use it.
Almost every single time.
Almost every single time.
Every time.
He is an anomaly for the fact of what he is willing to do and the grittiness he carries to be able to dig and row the boat and whatever other euphemism you want to use there to describe how he gets shit done.
That's why
he's an anomaly.
Most of the history of our sport, most of the best generational talents come from Jeremy McGrath's dad was a garbage truck driver. Ricky Carmichael's dad. These guys were all
regular Joes, nothing special, struggling to get to the races because the sport is one of the most expensive ones you can do outside of probably car racing.
It's very, very much a thing, right? And it's how they're bred to be gritty motherfuckers, like you're saying.
Yep.
That's one of my favorite things about our sport, really.
Yeah. So, I don't know, man. Right now, he's my title favorite, and you'd have a hard time changing my mind here. Like, he's going to have to fall off the boat here for me to go, nope, he's out. So
16 looks really good, boy. It would be something if he was able to figure it out and go Supercross, Motocross the same year.
Yeah.
Boy, would that be something.
It would be. But that's been your Deegan danger zone there, which there isn't much danger to talk about because he's just established himself.
He's a dangerous motherfucker.
He is dangerous. Dangerous, as James says. So he goes 1-2 for first. Hymas goes 4-1 for second. That was great to see him get that win. I gotta see him repeat. He's definitely a guy. He's young. He's young. He's a podium threat. He's I'll call it a 3 to 6 guy, almost guaranteed at this point for this class. But in order for me to say he's a race winner / challenger any day of the week, I gotta see him do this a couple of more races here.
When do you see him become a contender?
Peaking? I don't know, man.
I wouldn't say peak. I would say become a contender. Maybe next year. Maybe
this is like the growth phase here, and then next year it really comes out. My big thing is like, what are we doing about the knee? Because the knee caused issues in Supercross. Because where he's getting away with it outdoors here, because he doesn't dab as much or whatever. He dabbed like Supercross. We saw this a lot, and that's why his results would hurt because he'd be flying, he'd be so good, and then all of a sudden he just falls off the wagon. We all went, "What the hell?" And then come to find out, it was because the knee's torn. As soon as he dabbed it, it would cause issues, and that would be the end of his race essentially.
Yeah,
so my thing is like, okay, that's all fine and dandy, but if you do this and you go do the SMX rounds and then you get it fixed, okay, now you're talking
like, what, 2 months.
Well, you're talking like end of September or middle of September, you get it done, maybe end. So then you're talking October, November, December's 3 months, which is short. That's some Alden Baker special juice recovery knee injury there.
It depends. Depends on what it is.
And then
if it's just your meniscus, you don't need fucking 6 weeks.
I don't know if his is meniscus. I think his is ACL. But if you do that, then you're looking at East Coast at like 5 months, 4.5, 5 months.
That's good doable.
Which that's probably doable.
It's difficult to be competitive off the hop because like the last time I got my left knee done, I got a nerve block, and it was great for functional wise because I don't take any pain meds. I haven't since many years. But my quad shut down, and it took me a fucking month to get my muscle disappeared. Literally there was muscle, and then there was like what happened to the muscle there. And it took like a month to get to start firing again. So you don't know what you're gonna get out of that.
So that's the only thing that I'm like, this is great, but like saying that next year will be better if he goes and gets the knee, and then if he doesn't, does he run into issues like he did this year in Supercross, which then holds him? I don't know. I'm not sure. We'll have to wait and see. But this was a great ride for him. So Vial goes 2-4 for third. Again, like I said, he's doing great, but he needs to beat Deegan here. He needs to legitimately beat him in a moto or two to get the ship righted, because otherwise, like I said, you're going to be at the break here 4 rounds in, and you're going to be a moto down with him not, or with you not crashing and DNFing, which is a fucking problem. So, but he's
a real good sand rider, eh?
I don't know. I don't think so. Because he's French, so he'd be more hard pack guy.
It's true.
So I don't know. We'll see. He's definitely the second guy, in my opinion. It's like you've got Deegs, you've got him, and then Kitchen, but then you're kind of going to fall into now Hymas is rubbing up there with Kitch.
And all the star guys.
And then, well, not all the star guys. But then you got like Shimoda's going to rub up there too, I think, because I think he's building. I think the ankle's getting better. And then, yeah, I don't know. We'll see. So, anyway.
I didn't know Joe had a bad ankle.
He hurt it last round of Supercross.
Oh.
So Shimoda goes 5-3 for 4th. Speaking of him, I think we'll start to see him pick up. Yesterday looked a little better. That second moto, I think we're going to start getting to the point where Shimoda's going to come on, as Shimoda does.
I would say Redbud.
Yeah, probably mid-season. Kitchen goes 3-7 for 5th.
Joe won Redbud, right?
Let's see here.
It all kind of mushes together.
Yeah, I know. I have a hard time remembering past the last week, to be honest with you. He was 7th last year. He did win in 2022.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So good memory. Yeah. So Shimoda, like I said, 5-3 for 4th. I think he's just gonna get better.
I was at the podium for that one. It was wild.
That was the one he had "I Heart the USA" written on his chest or something,
like
right?
That, yeah. Love that.
Kitchen goes 3-7 for 5th, and this is a bad thing for Kitchen here, because it's like that second moto he was the first moto wasn't great. He lost touch with Vial and Deegan there. Second moto was just like, whoa,
off pace,
bad start. So that was one thing. I did take a note. So like the first moto he was a 7th place start. The second moto, I don't know where it was, but it was similar. And this is the thing that we've seen with Kitchen that we're like, ooh, has he fixed that? We're like, he kind of, if he starts up front, if he starts top 3, okay, cool, he'll run top 3. If he doesn't, then he has a hard time getting going, per se. So we'll have to keep an eye on this going forward. It definitely has placed him as the number 3 guy.
Mm-hmm.
But if he has another bad one next week, it's going to be a problem. Then he's going to start to falter into, like I said, the Hymas, Shimodas, those kind of guys of like, he's not with those top 2. He's starting to fall into second tier here, essentially.
How far back is he in points?
Currently 4th, actually. 119, and Deegs is leading with 144. So he is
quite a ways.
20. He's over Moto. He's 26, 25, 26, something like that. Points right now. That's a problem. That's a big problem. He's another one. He's got to stop this bleeding next week. Otherwise, it's going to be over before it starts for him.
Whoopsie.
Yep. So, Swole goes 7-5 for 6th.
So impressive.
This is just right where I think he fits in, which is really impressive because of the bike. Because
you don't think it's good, or you think it because
no, I think it's great. I think it's great because in transferring to a bike that is unproven, literally brand new, not a KTM with new plastics or anything, for him to jump on it and them to get it in a spot where he can run the same thing he was doing, wonderful.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Ty Masterpool goes 8-6 for 7th. He was fastest qualifier.
He was looking good.
Which I was like, okay, this could be interesting. I might have to eat some words. And then he gets in the motos, goes 8-6. I'm like, nope, never mind. We're good.
Does he win a moto this year?
Right on par. No.
No?
Nope. Nope. Maybe a podium. A moto podium.
Oh, okay.
That's where I'm going.
I almost want to make a bet on this, but that's too far.
I'm done making bets. I've lost too much already. Pierce Brown goes 6-9 for 8th. Okay, they're working on some stuff. Julian Beaumer, Juju, goes 9-10 for 9th. Okay. Jordan Smith was laying on the ground a couple times. He goes 11-11 for 10th. Romano goes 12-12 for 11th. Both those guys clippy. No, I'm just kidding. I don't think Smith is. I do think Romano's getting clipped from Star, though.
Yeah.
Just results issue. Savacci goes 17-8 for 12th. Was laying on the ground in the first corner in that first moto, so whatever. I was watching him. He came from 37th to 17th, so, that's not bad. They can get the starts figured out, man. I really do think he challenges for a moto win and an overall. I think that happens.
Sure would be cool to see him win on a Triumph.
Late race, he's really, really good. He has athletic maturity at 30. Well, he's he's AMA 29. He has athletic maturity for a 30-year-old that the kids don't have. He's not quite as wild at the beginning of the race, but then you get to the second half of the motos, and he's yanking on kids.
Blake Baggett-esque.
Yeah.
You know, you and Coach both have used that athletic maturity term today a bunch of times, and I really like that. I haven't really thought about that before. I really like that.
I picked it up from Coach. I'd love to say I originated it, but Coach talks about it all the time, and then once you get into it, like I have, then you start to see it with guys, and he's one of those guys, and you and I both know, being in your 30s, you kind of understand stuff a little better. You understand when to push, when to not push. He's there.
I also relate this to you and I are business guys. The folks at home don't know. Financial maturity is something that you and I have come a long way on, right? And it's it's kind of interesting.
Not financially mature right now. I got a house, and it's all. Everybody who owns a house who watches this show just knows how it goes. Just right out the window. Right out the window. Yeah, losing bets too isn't helping. Cody Schock goes 14-13 for 13th, so that's an improvement. He's getting better. Not a 20th place guy anymore, but
I don't think that's getting better. I think it's still off. I think he's
he was 19th, 20th place guy the first two rounds, so this is better. As he said, because he was asking a post race I was listening to about what's the difference, and he's like, dude, these kids do not fucking care. He's like, not to say that the 450 guys don't push it. He's like, but there is some thought process in what they're doing. He's like, these 250 kids, nope, wide open, pin, don't give a fuck who you are, don't give a fuck if I'm gonna crash, just doing it, which he obviously has been riding the 450 class the last few years, so he's trying to bounce back into that. So Dylan Schwartz goes 10-18 for 14th. That 10th is a really good ride for him. Yep. Ryder D 18-14 for 15th. He's probably off that team at the end of the year here, which is shitty because his career is starting to flounder before it even begins. But he'll probably land like a Club MX ride.
He's a solid talent.
I mean, it's funny because he's been around enough with the futures and stuff that we all just think like, oh man, he's like third-year pro. This is his rookie season. So like...
Yeah, what are we talking about clipping him for? He's fucking great.
I mean, this is just what I'm hearing.
I see.
I'm not saying clip him because I'm trying to get better at being like, look, we've got to have, there has to be somebody finish 18th. There has to be somebody finish 10th. There has to be somebody finish 3rd. So, let's celebrate the top 20 guys, per se, of the 20th place guy is a fucking gnarly dude riding a dirt bike. So
he's top 20 in the world.
Yeah. Speaking of that, Casey Cochran goes 16-16 for 16th. Nice. Sparks last week with that fastest qualifier. You can work with speed thing. I think it maintains his spot on Husky here, but we'll see. Dax Bennett goes 15-17 for 17th. He's one that I haven't heard yet, but I am very nervous that if he does not start to perform outdoors here, because these are subpar results for him, he may get clippy off the star team here, which could be an issue.
Maybe, but I was just about to say how impressed I am with the guy, honestly.
He was his Supercross season was good.
Yeah.
This is just not...
His rookie season.
I understand that too, man, but
3 rounds in.
Yeah, and he did all Supercross, which is a thing too. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. Ryder McNabb is out there, which actually I had a note from the first moto. He was 5th on the first lap there, so pretty good. But he goes 13-23 for 18th, so that's cool. Mark Phineas, who, in case you didn't catch on the broadcast, he's a rookie for the Club MX team, which is fine because I believe he was rider 3, or his number was 390 last year.
Which is your number.
Which is my number, which is sick. Maybe it wasn't him. Maybe it was somebody else, but I think it was him. I'm not sure. I can't remember. He goes 32-15 for 19th. Jet Reynolds, who, according to sources, says he should have won 2 titles already, goes 2019 for 20th, which is going to be rough to win a title. Just barely getting top 20s, but we'll see. And that rounds out your top 20 there.
So you mentioned it right at the tail end of that 250s there. You mentioned a Canadian rider, Phineas, I think.
No, Phineas is from... You're talking Ryder McNabb?
Okay.
Yep.
Boy, there are some real talented guys racing in Canada.
There are. There's some dudes they're pretty fucking good up there. So, all right. So that's been your 250 race recap brought to you by our friends at Flo Racing. Make sure to check them out. Link in the description down below. I'm not even going to start to get into it because we get off on tangents, and I'm trying to wrap this. I gotta go back and move it. So, anything else you want to touch on?
I think I'm pretty good. Was an exciting race to watch.
It was.
The weather turned around and was okay.
Mm-hmm.
A little gusty.
Yes.
But, we're about due for our mud race, aren't we?
I don't want to talk about that. We had so many in Supercross, and I just don't want to see that. Probably Redbud. Probably fucking rain Redbud weekend, which will be just awesome for me to try to line everything up to go, and then it's mud race, and I'll be like, son of a bitch.
It was alleged previously that you were going to bring a camper this year.
Yep.
Is that a thing?
No. Because, number one, the first thing that shot that in the ass was budget. That got ixnayed real quick. We were talking about it, and then there was some budgetary issues I ran into, aka I'm broke.
Got a stay-at-home chick now, actually.
AKA I'm broke, and so that didn't happen. And then now with getting the house and trying to get it, like I'll be lucky to be in and done with the projects I'm trying to work on with that, and have my life back on a normal path as to what I was doing prior to acquiring the house by the time Redbud rolls around. So, like, that's probably going to be the first weekend that I'm going to not work on the house at that point.
Speaking of Redbud,
yeah.
For the fans at home, if you come out to Redbud, I'll be the race engine mechanic, or not the race engine mechanic, I'll be the race mechanic for Kevin Moran's that weekend.
Are you doing that?
Yep.
Okay,
and,
sweet.
I think that, so yesterday, I normally through the summertime, I drive a 55 Chevy pickup truck, little blue truck.
Light blue, baby blue, we'll call it.
She's called Blue Jeannie, Meanie Jeannie, really, named after my grandma, Jeanette. But anyways, I think we'll have that in the pit. Come by and say hi, would you?
Yep.
I like meeting the fans, all three of you.
Yeah, well, that's what we say. Justin will be there all weekend. Justin's going with another buddy of ours to camp. He is camping from, I think, Wednesday to Sunday.
I'm getting him fucking gone, boy.
That's going to be good luck. Good luck getting him to do anything other than eat his turkey and his raisins. Man.
I'm very happy about that. I'm not going to be a bad
dude,
influence,
I'm not being a dick about it. I'm just saying good luck, dude, because I tried at Indy and like, nope, we're out. So,
the old Cali sober.
Yeah. So anyway, So Justin will be there. I will also be there probably Friday and Saturday is my plan right this second. I don't think I'm going to be there any of the other days. But again, if you see any of us, make sure to stop us and say hi. We're always down to talk.
Everybody sees my smiley ass. Come up. Give me a high five.
He'll be in a blue and white star spangled suit.
Maybe. I should talk to Kevin about that because
yeah,
that suit's it'll be cool, but it wouldn't be bad to do something new this time.
Yeah.
Maybe a pit shirt.
All right, so that's been our show. That's been 274. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Thanks everybody who's been totally on board and positive with me with all my real life things happening outside the show. Like I said, we will at some point here get back to your regularly scheduled programs of me doing race reactions and having the breaking stuff down better. But for right now, we're just trying to get a show out, period. So thanks everybody for tuning in. Thanks to all our sponsors: TLR Coatings, Complete Racing Solutions, ProFlow, Holster Co., Gutter Works, Isaac Nelson Designs. Check them all out. Links in the description down below. We'll see everybody next week for High Point.